It's on the recording, but that's just one of the kinks and
that would defeat the purpose, right? I'm fully vaccinated and covered.
smells good in here.
Sure does. It's that new car smell. Here, I've got something for you. Nice. From the garden club.
I walked into Walgreens a couple weeks back and they had those cinnamon brooms. The whole Walgreens smelled like that cinnamon, right? And every year we go through Christmas and we always say, we gotta get some cinnamon things to smell. Sort of like $5.99, 2 for $10. I'm sorry, I'll take 2. Put them in the truck, I do my errands, and the truck smells great. Oh, this is great. Bring them home, set them out there.
So you're supposed to buy more than 2.
If you got 3 or 4 feet around,
Yeah.
you kind of get it. I guess the air conditioner is filtering in too well. I guess it's not right. So it's like one of those.
That's misrepresentation. I just want to smell that way at home.
Well, and that's what got me. The store was like.
Testing, testing.
I guess you gotta have the whole bin of them.
Is this working?
Should have bought one of 2
It is.
I should ask, if
Testing.
it's 2 for 10, what do I get for 20? How much for the whole bin,
How
right?
much smell do I get?
I thought 2 would be more than enough. What can you do? Doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Testing.
Now I won't be
Got it.
buying them now.
Well, if you can buy
Good.
enough,
1, 2.
or stick them in the bathroom and leave the door.
Okay.
The bathroom is open.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That's probably the one
Okay.
place you want to smell good. Okay.
Liz sent out
Or is that Walmart?
today.
Walgreens.
Okay.
So just give her that.
I walked in there, they still smell pretty good. They still have them. And I was like,
Look
do
through
I do this again?
So
Nah.
She
Fool
doesn't.
me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
I think 6 more to fill every room, right?
Have her send that out.
Well, hello.
I tried. I tried.
All right.
Like all the land of galaxy, all the way clear up the dark sky. And stood all the
Well, on Tuesday.
Do you want just a regular?
I
can get one, that's fine. Sorry.
Yeah, she may need.
I don't think I need it, but anyway.
Okay.
You know?
It's Christmas time.
I just came here from Tampa. What's normally a 75 to 90 minute trip. was 3 hours.
Oh, it's horrible out there.
It was just backed
You
up.
get anything set, Brett?
You normally have the backups around Disney and the interchange, but it was just, and then coming down the turnpike.
Yeah.
The turnpike is closed somewhere down around Depot Junction or something, right? So then they're dumping the turnpike onto 192. Thank you. So now 192 is all jacked all the way through St. Cloud because everybody's trying to get the 441.
Is there an
Mm.
exit, by the way, after 192?
To be able to get over here, yeah, there is.
I didn't believe my.
They told you to go to 240, right? Kissimmee Park Road.
Kissimmee Park Road, yeah.
That would get you around the 192 mess.
Yeah, but you can't get back on there.
No, you can't get back on. You have to.
Or at
get
least
on the
not
surface
going north.
streets and do what you gotta do. But mine told me to do the same thing. I'm like, I'm not doing that. And then when I decided to take the exit, I got off the exit and then the 2 lanes were backed up through the toll booth, right? I'm like,
Oh, that's.
that's why they said to get down one more, because then 192 was jacked all the way across. That's a lot better off though than what the guy experienced yesterday morning at 192 in Nova Road.
Oh,
That poor guy had a
Mm.
really, really bad day. No.
no, we have one there almost every day
An
now.
SUV on a little old Dodge.
He didn't make it.
No. It wasn't pretty. I went into the gas station to get fuel. Car was 20 feet away and the yellow sheet was still, they didn't have to cut the car open. It was. Took an hour and a half to get from my house to that 192 in Nova Road. Yesterday morning. Because 192 just back. Oh.
It's Verona.
It's 90 minutes ago, no, 7:30 after 5 minutes.
Mm,
That whole area is just, people get going there and they get excited and want to zip across or come across. And
Now I put up traffic.
when you're making that crossing there, you better be sure of how fast that oncoming traffic is going.
That's a big issue.
Because
Because
most
most
of them are-
55 in there and very few people drive 55.
It's really bad.
Yeah, it is.
And you get a lot of action there because you get the
Oh,
gas
yeah.
station, the turn lane, people coming out of Nova Road, people going into Nova Road, the people joining from the gas station.
They reduce the mileage to 50 miles an hour down at the aquarium, but no one takes any notice of it.
No.
They don't.
It's,
And a lot of them all come from Harmony. What does that tell you about us?
we have places to go and people to see.
Go back to the people in the accident.
yeah, right. It's almost 6 o'clock.
Almost.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is the December regular meeting of the Harmony CDD. I want to welcome everybody here that is in attendance. First item on our agenda is a roll call. So I will check in. Carol Castle.
Present. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We thought we'd try out. Daniel Lee.
Can you hear me? Hi. I'm here.
We can definitely hear you, Dan. A little background.
Okay,
noise.
I will try and stay muted. Yep, I'll stay muted as much as I can. Sorry.
Thank you. We have Supervisor Scarborough
Present.
and Supervisor Berube
Yeah.
and myself, Supervisor Kramer. Everybody is in attendance with Supervisor Leet and Supervisor Castle attending by Zoom, but we have 3 in person, so we do qualify as quorum. The first item on our agenda, well, before we get started with audience comments, I do want to make a note about the full agenda package that's on the internet. There's a page 4 in that packet that's in an error, so please, if you were confused about that, please disregard that. The second item on our agenda is audience comments. Again, this is a chance for anyone in the audience to provide comments or concerns. We ask you to limit it to a maximum of 3 minutes. Do we have any requests for audience comments?
I didn't receive any.
Would any of our audience like to make any comments this evening? No. Hearing none, we'll move on to the third item on our agenda. Contractors reports. We'll welcome Mr. Pete Betancourt. That looks like he's pretty sore today. What?
I've been working on irrigation all week.
Oh, no, no, no. Let me give you a microphone. Is this an extra or is that yours?
Isn't that an?
Is that an on? Oh, okay. So we are
to that.
good with the audience mic. So if you would like to bring us up to date on what's going on in the community.
I'm sure everybody's noticed the annuals are
Yes.
out. They're blue messes coming in tomorrow, 7 o'clock in the morning. They're gonna put in the new ones. The crew has been working on leaf pickup and cutting back the grasses. Unfortunately, they weren't able to weed eat the remaining ponds. I had to move the schedule around a little bit to accommodate for the leaf pickup, but it will be done last week of December.
Okay. And that will be the
27th, Yeah.
end of December for
the end
the,
of December.
okay.
You're flying solo tonight.
Oh, yeah. How unusual.
All right.
Your manager didn't want to show up and get his Christmas ruined, or?
You didn't have the cookies.
He didn't bring the cookies tonight, so that's okay. We're not supposed to eat in our meetings anyway until later on.
Irrigation wise,
Yes,
clock 14. I'm happy to report it's up and running.
up and running again. Okay. All right. And what does clock 14 run? The
Schoolhouse.
schoolhouse and okay.
Schoolhouse, the pocket
The
park,
Buck Lane Pocket Park
Yeah.
and that area.
that whole
Okay,
area.
great. So I saw
There
you
are-
working on it yesterday.
Yeah, there are a few broken heads here and there.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna fix those
Okay.
next week. Because Friday I have my manager meeting in the Berry.
Okay.
So I'll get to work on that. There are a few rooted sprinkler heads that might need proposals on or
Okay.
NTEs. We'll see how, I know there's one by a white picket fence not far from Steve's house.
Mm-hmm.
There's a root about this big
Oh, my heavens.
covering it. So
Okay.
that's probably gonna be an NTE,
Okay. So we'll look forward to,
but it's up and running. It's getting water.
okay, good, good. I have a quick question. There is a meter at 75 Five Oaks Drive. That was the one that was cut off while they were doing all the enclaves work. Now they've reconnected it. And last couple of months, we've been seeing rather high bills from that. I don't know if we can have Toho come out and take a quick look at it to make sure it was connected properly, or if it's functioning, if the meter is functioning properly.
You said 75?
7,500
Oh, 7,500.
Five Oaks,
That makes more sense.
which is right where the,
Sure, I understand.
right across the street. So if you can just double check on that.
Where's that meter?
It's like at very close to the Lakes Clubhouse. And they cut it off during construction for the lakes, and they have reconnected it and put a new meter in like a month or two ago. And since then, it's been coming up in the thousands of dollars range, which like this time it's
7,500, $5.
1,500. Yeah.
That's
But the address you said was 7,500?
Yes, 7,500.
7,500 would be that field.
The end, it's on the clubhouse side.
Mhm.
Basically closer to the clubhouse,
Mhm.
but between the clubhouse and the enclave
Mhm.
entrance. And when they built that entrance, think they moved the meter. Something happened. The meter was gonna be under pavement or something. And they found that out because they went and dug up the ground to get it prepared, pull up the wires, pull up the pipes, trace it back. The meter is gonna be here, and there was conversation, and Gerhard says, well, we can't leave them. They were gonna pave over it. No, you can't do that. So at some point, that got shifted back to the
Mhm.
meter you're talking about now.
Right.
We have no idea what happened in the ground because
Oh, well, they came in, they
Junior Davis
put,
fixed it, I think. Somebody fixed it,
well, not Junior Davis, yeah,
whoever it was.
but they put another pipe in the ground inside a sleeve in case the pipe that was there had issues. So that they wouldn't have to we wouldn't have to directional bore under their driveway. So that's there if we need it, but we shouldn't, I haven't heard of any breaks or anything out there,
I
so.
haven't seen any that.
If you can, I'm not sure that they connected all of that to Maxicom or if they just put a box out there and maybe the box isn't set right. But if you could just
I'll look at it.
look at it and
It
see.
should have been on Maxicom because they got wires too.
If you
Long
talk,
time
if
ago.
clock 21, which is behind the fenced-in area for Toho, that one is not on Maxicom. When Gerhard explained the whole irrigation system, he told me all the ones that were. That one, for some reason, doesn't hook up to Maxicom, and he believed when all this happened, they cut the wire.
Okay.
So that clock over here is a standalone,
Mhm.
but I haven't seen anything that
Mhm.
would indicate.
Does
That there's
rain
any
gauge?
other.
A what?
A rain gauge? I think it does.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not on Maxicom, because it's running on standalone on the
Yeah.
rain gauge.
Okay. So if you can just check on that
I'll look
and
into it.
get back with Brad or Vincent.
This is
See what that is.
your suggestion is that there's water running into the ground,
I don't know if
a lot of water.
either there's a lot of water running into the ground or the
Well,
meter is
the meter will
faulty.
tell you if there's a leak. If
And
you
what,
see
you're right,
the
if it's
meter
running
moving,
constantly and no sprinklers
Yeah.
are sprinkling, then we've got an issue, so. I'll leave that up to you. All right, any other questions from the board members?
Yes, just already, I saw it earlier this week, but there's a geyser in between the two roundabouts on Five Oaks. Across from, it's a spray head, so it's in between the sidewalk and the road.
Mhm.
So I don't know what clock, I forget the clocks now.
Is that after the roundabout? Heading to the Dancer roundabout?
Heading to what?
The other roundabout?
Yes,
Between the two,
yeah,
probably around 72.
it's around,
Yeah, that,
7250.
I'll get that one tomorrow.
Yeah.
We did fix that valve that's stuck.
you did fix the valve?
Yeah,
So I just noticed it's almost closer to this roundabout that's closest to us right now.
Right.
It's between the sidewalk, a spray head between the sidewalk and the road, and it's just
Okay.
straight up in the air.
I'll look for it
Yeah,
tomorrow.
and if you all see something like that, and any member of the public, if you see a spray head that's having a problem, we call them geysers, just send a quick email with the closest address to it to CDD maintenance at infomark.com.
Yeah, and Brett always forwards me,
Get it,
Those
yeah,
things.
that will get it to Cervell Irrigation Crew right away.
I mean, I've fixed so many geysers this week. I could have
I know,
fixed it
that's-
already.
I know.
And I'm
Mhm.
like,
I've been seeing you out there working, so.
it's a madhouse.
What's the,
And quickly too, so we thank you.
Yes.
what's the update on Junior Davis mainline break that they cut into? Up along?
The fence line,
Yes.
Correct, and then they cut the Maxicom wires. Have you guys made that repair yet?
they cut I don't believe Maxicom was cut, but the clock is still connected.
Okay.
So
Oh,
the
good.
Maxicom wires was fine. What they cut was all the zone wires that they
Oh.
cut. But the only three wires that are connected to that clock 3, are the curve and the median,
I mean,
both ends.
So
That-
the
yeah.
other zones are not. CD
The other
zones?
zones have, the previous irrigation tech had pulled out all the wires from the clock. So there's only 3 wires connected.
because it was developer water
Okay,
lines.
well, that will be, we'll deal with that later, but it may actually be CDD property. So we may end up, but those 3 zones that were, they're
perfect.
back.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not an
I
issue.
I spoke to Brett about it. We needed to get that fixed
Mhm,
because of the flowers.
right.
So we got plenty of water for both annual beds and the curb and the median.
Okay, great. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, real quick, long term, do we think adding that 1 clock to Maxicom is, I mean, is that going to be an extraordinary expense? Do we know, or what would we be looking at to have that under control with everything else?
We would have to see. I mean, once you cut the wires that didn't connect everything back together, you're gonna have valves out.
Mhm.
But
I think, Dan, are you talking about the,
Fusilier land.
no,
No, back a few minutes ago, the one by the clubhouse.
one behind the lakes? That's not on Mexico. The one with the
Oh,
ring.
Correct.
You have to get wires.
Oh, if it's not wired, it's extraordinary expense.
So you gotta
It's a-
trench all the way to
Yeah.
get wires.
Yeah, well, there are wires out there.
The zones do work.
I had asked
Everything
them to
that
set
doesn't
it
work
up.
is when Maxicom tells it to turn on.
Okay.
That's the only thing. But everything else works on that.
So we'll get a report from you on that later when you've gone out to investigate it, right? Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
He said, thank you.
Supervisor Castle, do you have any questions of Mr. Betancourt?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, if I hear none other, we will excuse Mr. Betancourt and say thank you for your
Thanks for
report.
coming. Merry
You guys
Christmas
have
and Happy
a
New Year.
Merry Christmas.
Have a
Happy New
great
Year.
Christmas.
See you
I'll
next
talk to
year.
you later.
Okay. At this point, I'd like the board's indulgence. We need to insert one item of business that came up as an emergency. So Brett, do you want to take this, or Angel, as far as the,
I can, with Vincent's assistance. Absolutely. Stand here. So yesterday morning, we got a report from field staff and from Speedy's Pool that the swim club restrooms were flooding, the men's room specifically, right, Vincent? Okay, and there was dirt and stuff coming up from the drain in the ground. So Vincent tried to snake the drain, was unsuccessful. We did have to contact a plumber as an emergency procurement procedure. And they found that they couldn't get the sewer cap off. It's a brass sewer cap on top of a PVC, clean out. So unfortunately, there was 2 options. We could take the toilet off and go through the toilet to the drain, or we jackhammer out the encased concrete around the sewer clean out, cut the sewer clean out below that, and then replace it. We went with the second option, more because if we have that issue again, it would have been $1,200 to take the toilet off versus $1,800 to make sure you get the sewer cap off. So upon doing that, they then ran a camera down there, correct, Vincent?
Yes, sir.
And found that the issue with the clog is that tree roots had broken through on one of the fittings. So we currently have an $1,800 expense for that initial repair. But we also have a quote from them currently for $4,800 to excavate that pipe up to where the roots have protruded through the pipe. Cut that out there, insert a new pipe. We are working on getting additional quotes as well. We have another vendor coming out tomorrow, and hopefully another vendor will be returning we have one coming out Monday, tomorrow and Monday. So we had to make you all aware of that.
It's safe to presume that the root intrusion is beyond the building, or is it under the building? Under the building,
Yeah.
Under the swim club building,
yeah, the men's room.
from the trees by the curb.
Well, it's roots, right? Probably the trees.
There's
by the-
trees on
I
both
thought it was
sides.
20 feet out from the
So
building.
they're gonna dig up the floor.
No,
How are they gonna? get
no,
in there?
I don't think it's under the
I don't think
building.
they're excavating the pipe under the building, they're cutting where the tree roots have impacted the drain. Or the pipe.
20 feet off,
20
the-
feet
yeah.
off where the clean out is, so it's 20 feet back towards the building, but they won't be going underneath. the building.
Oh, okay, that's what I meant by Is it outside the building or under?
No, it's outside, it's in a
Outside.
common area where they'll be, and they have to excavate about 4 feet down to
Got
get to this pipe.
So currently, we don't have, the issue is resolved temporarily? The backup?
Temporarily, the bathrooms are functioning, but it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, I
before those
get that.
tree roots stop whatever is being pushed down there, and then you start backing up into the.
Have the repairs taken place for the $1,800 of what was, okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's,
We had to do that in order to get
Okay.
the clog.
To
completed.
find out
but
what was.
there's nothing else that needs to happen there, right?
Pardon?
There's nothing else that needs to take place?
No, sir.
Okay.
And the bathrooms are shut,
They're-
marked off.
Well, they're closed anyway with.
With the
speed.
pool, so
Yeah.
that luckily it happened while our pool was closed down.
Yeah,
So,
Speedy's employees were using that restroom.
Right.
For,
yeah.
Well, that's reasonable. I
Right.
mean,
which is fine, but now they're not.
mhm. So, yeah.
We hope not.
So what we need to do is approve a not to exceed of, what was it, 4,800? So that if we can get a lesser quote in to do the work, we can go with the lesser one, but we can get it done within the next day or so, so we can get the restrooms open, so they'll be open when the pool reopens. So I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve an NTE of $4,800 to accomplish the necessary sewer pipe repairs to the swim club bathrooms.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, not to exceed 4,800 to repair the sewer pipe for the swim club. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll get that
Do
done.
we fund that out of reserves or operating budget?
Should be operating, shouldn't be reserves. You can put it there, obviously, if you want.
Well, reserves and repairs, I mean, it doesn't matter. You get to the end of the year, your regular budget's over, you take it out of reserves anyway, so.
Yeah, when we get further down and we have a more defined budget from the reserve, we'll see where we go from there. All right, thank you for your indulgence to get that emergency issue out of the
Clearly,
way.
shutting down bathrooms causes tree root intrusion. It must be.
Is that what happened before?
Gotta be, no, but it's gotta be. We haven't had tree roots in 20 years. We shut down the bathroom, you got tree roots.
All right, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, which includes the approval of our regular monthly minutes for November 18th, 2021, financial statements for November 30th, 2021, and approval of number 260 invoices and check register, of which I did not see the check register. Was it there and I missed it?
Should have been there.
Okay. So, but I did see all of the invoices and information. So any
Move to
questions?
approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Chair, before you go, just one thing, page 22. It says if money changes hands, under my report, you need to insert no, if no money changes. Kind of important.
What are you talking
The minutes.
about? Oh,
On page 22,
okay.
you had to listen carefully.
That is one of them,
That's what we're doing?
page
Yes,
22 of the minutes or the agenda package.
The minutes.
22 minutes, if no money changes hands?
Just need to insert no.
No, okay.
All right,
changes the whole.
you've got that,
context.
right? Yes, very much so. Very much so. All right, so we've got a motion and a second with a minor amendment of the insertion of the word no on page 22. Any discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dan, is there anything you can do? You are very loud. I mean, really loud when you cut in.
Yes.
Does he go through the board?
Yeah.
He does?
Well, no, not through the mic. He's on his own mic. He comes through just the speaker.
Just the
through
speaker.
Zoom. Yeah.
Like turn the.
Okay, so- The consent agenda passes unanimously
That sounds better.
with the minor
Thank you.
change. All right, the next item on the agenda is our district manager's report. First one is the Garden Club CDD credit card.
Okay, so what the garden club has asked for, a few things which we don't need to discuss because staff and Brett's gonna take care of that. Julie's gonna make the introduction. They're wanting some hours from staff to help do some stuff. What they're asking for is a credit card with $500 limit for president to purchase supplies. Currently, what they're doing is they're buying supplies, turning in their receipts, and then they get reimbursed out of the garden expenses or revenue that they bring in. Got a bunch of different ways the board can go about that. You can get them a preloadable card where we can load it every month with $500 on it once we receive receipts to cover those expenses. You can issue them a CDD card. I mean, I don't know if I go to that extreme.
I'm not sure why.
Well, they're paying out of their pocket and it's taking a while to get them reimbursed.
Well, I understand that, but they're buying soil and fertilizer and herbicides.
Right, and
Why would the
Black
taxpayers of
plastic and-
Harmony be on the hook for what is essentially a private endeavor?
okay. What has been the longstanding policy is that, and well before my time here on the board, the Garden Club brings in revenue from the rentals of lots. And that money is currently going into our O&M budget.
Into the revenues portion.
So then they buy things, bring in the receipts, get reimbursed for them. And again, our reimbursement process unfortunately takes a while. And my understanding, they stay within that budget of what they bring in.
They do.
But since it
They always
goes,
have.
right, since it's going through our budget and we brought this in out from under the HROA. So what we can do is we can give them a preloaded $500 credit card. They can't exceed that. And that's our procurement level. And they can go out, they can buy black plastic, they can buy herbicides, they can buy fertilizers and soils, whatever they need. They then bring back the receipts and turn them in, verify that they're legitimate expenses for the garden. And then once they turn in the receipts, then that amount of money will be reloaded onto that card.
I'm very well aware of how it worked because obviously I was the past president of the HROA. And the garden, I think it's a different standard when an HROA manages a garden club and operates under the HROA. And the garden club used to bring in several thousands of dollars every year in income, and they were assigned a budget, usually 50 to 75% of that number to spend on, and that was the standard for pretty much as long as the garden club operated, right? But when it came under the CDD, that ability to spend that quote unquote income stopped.
No,
No.
Well, it should have.
Oh, it
Why?
hasn't.
No, there's no reason why it should have.
Well, why not? Well, okay, so we rent spaces to people with RVs. Once a guy has an RV slot, let's say that he wants to improve his RV slot and maybe put some AstroTurf there so he doesn't get the dirt in his RV when he walks up. Why shouldn't he be able to ask us to improve his slot with some AstroTurf because he doesn't like the dirt? It's the same theory.
No, it's not.
There's
Not
common
at all.
property out there, and then there's the property that's leased. I mean, the plots themselves are what the homeowners rent out and buy their own seeds and their own fertilizers. The common areas are just the borders, the pathways, the irrigation.
and that's what needs to be maintained. And luckily, we get a screaming deal. We don't have to pay field service to maintain those. The volunteers themselves put in the sweat and the labor to go ahead and maintain those common areas. The fencing, the pathways between them, they get out there and shovel the mulch and
Well, we
make
just
sure
heard-
that's all
We just
maintained.
heard that there's been a request for field services to devote some hours to general maintenance of the common areas. So that kind of
Not all of
changes.
the maintenance.
So what they've asked for is, first of all, they asked for 10 to 20 hours. However, they did say whatever the field staff can allow. And that would be to help them, send over there to move the mulch that gets dumped for them. They're wanting some electric hooked up for their shed. It's little things like that. They listed it out. Swing hinges on gates. Stuff like that. Again, I don't know to the extent, I'm just reading what she.
To the extent that we improve the property, I think field services should do that. To the extent that we're assisting with fertilizer and soil and all that for a rented plot that a person has exclusive use of during their lease.
That is not being done. That is not what these funds are being expended for. These funds are being expended for herbicides to spray the common pathways and get rid of the weeds in the common pathways. To
that point, we have a herbicide guy on staff who's spraying every day. Why couldn't that herbicide guy spray
They spray the parking lot.
we can do that, but again, the volunteers provide the labor now. That just means more man hours taken out of other areas in Harmony. Why not take advantage of the volunteer hours that these folks are putting in?
How much are they currently spending roughly on average per month?
We don't get receipts on a regular basis. It's kind of whenever they go purchase
Sporadic?
stuff. Yeah. And what they're asking for is stuff like, Teresa's right, the $500 would be to purchase supplies, which is that potting soil, that kind of stuff, for them to be able to do what they do. They are asking to replace a garden bed every year in our master plan. I'm not sure what the garden bed is, but the garden bed replaces
That's a
each
plot.
year in a master plan. A couple of beds need repaired with I guess they have the big timbers.
Yes.
Right, we use the
They're all raised beds.
Mhm.
the
2x10s.
pressure treated 2x6s.
Yes, so they would like to do that, and that's again, staff helping them do, because some of them can't lift that type of material and get it where it needs to go.
So the garden
That's
brings
it.
in approximately $1,200 to $1,300 a year in income from the leases. That's about the number, I think. Do they want a $500 rolling limit or a $500 one-shot per year request for all this stuff? Because it's different if you got a $500 rolling limit versus one $500 Visa card.
Well, here's the trick. The $500 limit to purchase supplies, that's gonna come back out of the garden revenues. Everything that they, like when they submit a check request to get their receipts,
I understand.
it all comes out of that garden club. So yes, we would have to make sure that the reloads at the 500 coincide with the revenue. We wouldn't be able to go over that. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
3 months, you could
And I-
exceed the entire yearly revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And I've asked Helena, the accountant, to send that. Julie has asked, because we want to see exactly what revenue is in there. And just because of what's on your budget, 'cause if you look at revenues on your budget, that does not equal what they send in. So it was a guesstimate, I'm assuming, on the revenue portion, versus what they actually send in. Because what you have on revenues is less
Than what they send in.
Not a whole lot. I mean, you're talking a couple $100.
Okay,
but
then we need to,
yes,
yeah,
and it
we
needs
need to
be
formalize that.
accurate of what they bring in. So that I can't answer for you.
I mean,
historically,
I have no,
historically, whatever got put into the budget for supplies and goods and everything, got spent right to the penny, all the time. And that's why I asked, how much are we devoting here? Because if you put 1240 available on a 1240 income, it will all get spent.
They were told, and I checked this with Tim, and went over this at the other meeting, I guess there's a resolution or something out there that says whatever income they bring in, they have to spend within that fiscal year.
No, no. I know where that came from.
He sent me a screenshot of it.
Huh?
I remember this issue, and I do
Yeah.
remember the statute speaks to that. I'll pull up the statute.
I personally wouldn't even care if they spent the entire year's revenue on improvements. I mean, it's not for any. We're not, the CDD is not gonna do anything with $1,200. I mean, it's for the community, right?
Right, and it's a.
But at the same time, if you exceed it, then now
Yeah, we
you're
don't
asking.
let them exceed it.
And I agree with you totally. And this is basically a self-funded amenity. We put lots of money in our boats. We put lots of money in our playgrounds. We put lots of money in our other amenities. We're not putting a penny towards that at this point in time. We've been asking them to be totally self-funded. I think that sometime in the future, I'd like to see actually coming up with a budget for them. But at this time, all they want is a revolving credit card. They plan to stay within the limit. I would entertain a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve a preloaded $500 card for their purchases, which will be reloaded back onto the card up to the budget limit.
So why don't we just, if we're going down that road, why don't we just give them the budget limit?
Okay, I will.
I mean,
I have a because we want them accountable. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. So I mean, that would be a $500 limit. The thing about the rolling limit is that it keeps everybody accountable to get the receipts in and to have them accounted for. So that would help. Okay, any other questions or discussions?
Steve's got something on his mind.
No, I said what I said. And I don't agree. I don't think it's fair to people who rent right down the little dirt path in the RV park, that they don't have the same ability to spend all the money that comes in from there.
We're spending.
We're spending it. We're spending it on parking,
money on
on
the RV.
fencing, on all kinds of things. We're far exceeding the annual budget.
That's
Not on private
that's-
areas, but hey, we're not gonna argue.
So this is under the assumption that this money gets spent on the maintenance and upkeep.
Common areas only,
Yeah.
but that's not where it's gonna go.
that is where it goes. I have a motion and a second.
Why
All
else
in
would you want
favor?
potting soil?
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Any opposition?
Nay.
Okay, passes. Vote 4-1 with Mr. Berube. Dissent. All right. Your next one is,
Next with the Harmony invoices, I sent you out examples of what you currently get versus some different options of what you can get. Just trying to streamline it. If you're happy with the way you're doing it now, that's totally fine. Invoices are all available in Avid. Every board member can have an Avid login, and they'll even show you how to do it. It's very simple. It's actually pretty neat of a system. You can go in, you can pull reports if you ever want to see every invoice that Cervelo, you've ever paid Cervelo since the time they've been here. You can put that vendor in, hit create a report, and it shows you everything that you've ever paid Cervelo, along with any other vendor. So that is a way. I don't know if everyone had an opportunity to look at it and review what I had sent, or if you have an opinion on it or anything like that.
Angel, I responded, but I didn't hear back. Did you receive my response?
I don't think I did, Carol. I would have responded, but I could have missed it. I'll recheck.
Okay, I'll look to see if I can resend it.
Okay, and I'll look right now.
okay. I use Avid. I don't know how many other people on the board do. It's an absolutely fabulous tool. It's easy to find something quickly. You can do searches on it. I have no problem with any of these three options. So if someone else out there, if there's someone who, I do not want to go with an option that is going to exclude someone from using the system and getting the information they need. So if there's someone who's not going to be able to or would not be comfortable working with the Avid system, then we need to avoid that one.
Carol, yes, I see your question. And to answer your question, yes, the invoices that you would see following that check register would be in Avid. It's always in real time. So yes, the answer to your question is yes.
My question was what the difference is between option one, which is the existing funding report, and option 3, which is what you provided an example of. I didn't understand the difference.
Option 1 is the way you receive them now. Which is, I think it's emailed to you separately, a check register, all the invoices.
Mhm.
Okay, that's how you get it now. Option 2 would be the check register only. And then you would go into Avid and you could look if you wanted to view actual invoices. Option 3 is what I attached, which is the check register and the invoices.
But I still don't understand the difference between options 1 and 3.
Yeah, I was having that same difficulty. Option 3 looks exactly like what we're getting now, only I presume it would come in the agenda and not as a separate attachment.
Correct. That is
The
what-
reason, excuse me, we were separating it is so we didn't have to make the invoices all compliant with the ADA requirements on the website.
That makes sense.
It also.
So that's why we separated them out of the agenda. They used to be in the agenda. We separated them out because of that reason.
And maybe Helena didn't know that when she provided these examples. It could be.
Okay.
And I have not had, I mean, I have not tried Avid. No one has ever, that I can recall, contacted me and you know, said, we are having a training on this date, or here's where you can register to get some training. So I'm not necessarily against it. I've just never accessed it that way. Don't know how difficult it is. Don't know how cumbersome versus just looking through the attachment. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and that goes for me. I'd like to be trained on it, but I haven't been approached or anything like that yet.
And they don't approach you. It's board members. Everyone can have access if they request. Some board members don't want access, so they don't do a group training or anything like that. But if you would like to be trained on it, we can definitely set that up at your convenience. And even, I will recommend, even if you want to leave it the way you get them now, I would still recommend you go on Avid. It's really a great tool.
Yes.
If you want to leave it the way you get them now.
Okay. What I'd like to propose is that I don't know if it will be Paula or who,
Paula.
but if you all will send an email out to each of the supervisors, offering them training, and then set up times with those who are interested. They can get familiar with Avid, see if they like it. I love it. But again, everybody has a different, and you know me in electronics. So I think you might find that it's very easy to work with, very user friendly, and you don't have to wait to see it until the packet comes out. And then we can, after they get trained and play around with Avid for a while, then we can bring this question back up and see, because unless they know what Avid is, they can't really make an intelligent
I've
decision.
used it. It's a 5-minute deal to learn it.
Yeah.
It's very user friendly.
Yeah,
Very.
I think they have, if I remember it, they have an online tutorial.
There is.
Mhm.
Yeah, because they rolled it out for expense reports a few years back, and we got away from it pretty quickly, but it wasn't because of that. But it was a no-brainer.
There is one thing under our invoices that I would like to ask, because I do this tape together spreadsheet for the Toho bills. If we could maybe look into our financial folks putting together so we can compare month to month what we're spending on water and electricity in the different areas. So, you know, my hope is that as we move forward, our field services staff, and I hope they have access to this too, can keep an eye on and through here spot problems where we may have problems with our irrigation system, or need to let OUC know that we're using excessive electricity in a particular spot, and see trouble before we get several months into paying high bills.
For OUC and Cove.
OUC and Toho.
Yeah, because those are the recurring ones with many,
Mhm.
it's a spider web when you look at the whole system, right?
Right.
So when something goes bing over here, it can be hard to spark.
Yeah.
Unless you've, got the history, right? If it's $90 a month for electricity, and all of a sudden one month it goes to 300, well, what happened?
Something's
Right.
wrong.
So a spreadsheet, basically month-to-month comparisons for Toho and OUC.
Right. So we can compare.
How far back do you want to go to start, to move forward?
Well, we're already current, aren't
Well,
we?
probably, to really get a history on that, to see where you're going, you probably need 2 or 3 years, I would think.
Yeah.
If that's not.
Do you want 2, 3? What do we-
2. Let's do 2.
2 year, okay, we'll start. 2
Because
years
that
back.
would let you.
And you may be able to call Barbara with Toho and she may put it together for you
Yeah, she will up to a certain point, and then we can
and then go.
insert from there. Okay, 2 years back.
It's pretty consistent, but there are blips here or
Yeah.
there that.
Yeah,
Seasonality peaks.
Well, seasonality and a break or a problem.
Mhm.
I mean, we had one major break that was costing us a couple of $1,000s that ran for like 3 months. And so if we could do that, that would be wonderful.
sure.
Okay, next item on your,
Email options, your website and email are hosted by GoDaddy. It is not good.
Why?
Mr. Bill.
Uh,
Mr. Bill.
Yeah. Some of you have not had any issues, and I think you're one of them. Or if you have, I haven't heard from you. But everyone else seems to be having issues. Sometimes they'll get attachments, sometimes they won't. There's been times where we've sent out emails and he will not get them, but he's copied on his personal email and he'll get them on that email address, but not on the Harmony.
I've had that.
And you get the
I
reject
just-
notice, says you didn't get it, and then.
Yeah. So I talked to Sandra. There are some options. We can go to Microsoft that would do both of those. They also back it up and do everything that we're supposed to do. Or you can keep GoDaddy hosting your website, which seems to be working okay. I haven't heard any issues about that, but we can switch to Microsoft for your email services, which is just Microsoft 365. It's very simple and we haven't had any issues. I have switched it.
I use that at work. It's full.
Yeah, many of my districts have gone to that. Unfortunately, you just paid your.
I
GoDaddy
just was
bill.
gonna ask, 52704.
Right, and that is a combination of, it's $137 per email address. And then it's X amount for your website. So being that that bill was just paid.
Is that monthly or
Uh,
quarterly?
No, annual.
it's-
Annual,
Yeah, it's annual.
I think.
But being that that bill was just paid, they're not gonna refund if we switch to a different email. So, just wanted to throw that out there. You're not gonna get any money back, but I would definitely consider maybe not switching your website, and you can break the two apart, totally fine. But I would definitely,
Are they comparable with Microsoft?
Microsoft for 5 email addresses is $75 a month.
For 5?
I mean, for like seven.
Oh, so that would be,
$75 a month for 7 email addresses. And then if we add them on, it's like $15 an email after that. And I can send a whole breakdown.
And did I hear that would also be Office 365 with that?
Yes, it's Microsoft 365.
Part of the hosting is email retentions and all that. Who,
Microsoft stores, backs up and files all of.
who's doing that now?
GoDaddy, I'm assuming. I'd have to talk.
I
didn't
thought
ask
somehow
Sandra.
Infomark was involved in.
We back up stuff too, but whoever is hosting it, they also back it up.
Okay.
And with Microsoft, it's very
They
important.
archive forever and ever.
Well, I
and ever.
understand. I'm just making sure that we don't miss something here, because I know.
Right, there's that 7 years requirement and everything, storage
Yeah.
details and everything that they're supposed to be following.
Wait a minute, you say Microsoft is 75 a month,
Mhm.
but
For
7.
7 emails, and then it's 15 email addresses, and then it's $15 for each additional.
but GoDaddy is 137 for the year,
527.
Yes,
5 in total for a year. So if we go with Microsoft, we're going to
Much more.
$75
$900.
a month.
No, $75.
a month.
times 12.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, a month.
So your
Okay.
cost doubles, or almost doubles. But if the service is better, I've had experience with the GoDaddy folks. You've been involved in that, as has Sandra. It's frustrating because the guy says, basically, I don't know what's wrong.
Yeah, it
I
looks
think
good
they're all
from
going
my
through,
end.
it all looks good from my end, and he says, send me whatever you get. And for the next 4 or 5 days, I'll get 10 reject messages. I send them all to him, he says, I fixed your problem. It's all set, I found the glitch. And then the next day, I'll
Okay.
get 20 more reject messages.
So we're not getting good service from GoDaddy. I have to recuse myself because I have a relationship, a familial relationship with Microsoft.
Oh, okay.
So I will continue to chair. I'll entertain a motion, but I will not vote on this particular
And
item.
I can keep looking. I mean, there's other platforms out there if you don't want to do $75.
Yeah, we can monkey around with this forever. Email is important. It sounds like all the ground work has been done. It's hard to argue with Microsoft. They own the world. Let's just, take the step. I mean, it's important. And if we're
Okay.
not getting it, I mean, we live in an email world today. right?
Okay, you want
So-
to put that in a motion?
Move that we make the move to have our email services transferred over to Microsoft, specifically at a cost not to exceed
$75 a month.
$75 a month. Well, that's gonna.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a
Wait a
second.
minute, before we go that far, does the 75 include all the email addresses that have to be done? Because how many do
We
we,
need 5 for
There's-
sure.
There's 5, and the rest are Infomart.
Yeah.
And then we have I think the Harmony admin at Harmony CDD is one, but I can switch that over to Infomart.
So we can get
so
away
the
with
only ones
seven.
that we have to have are the 5?
Absolutely.
Okay, then my
Because
motion
your
carries.
field staff is Infomart, so it's at infomart.com,
Okay.
so you don't pay for those.
Well, the field staff has always been off the,
Mhm.
I was just making sure we didn't have any
Nope.
other needs. Okay,
Just
then
these
my
5.
motion carries. I leave it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Supervisor Castle, do you have any comments on this?
No,
Okay. All right, hearing no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing no opposition by a vote of 4-0,
Oh, 4, that's right, sorry.
motion passes. I don't know if I have conflict paperwork to fill out, but if we do. Yeah, really. The next item on the agenda, the Borough Tombs, we addressed that at October meeting, so that
Need it signed.
drops off. I just need to sign it at the end of the meeting. Okay, the next item on your business is your Infomart credit card versus CDD credit card.
Yes, as I discussed previously, before you had a Harmony CDD card for your field staff that was attached to your bank account. When we took over the contract, we gave them an Infomart card. There is a 15% admin fee associated with that card. Harmony has not paid it. It did slip through one time. That has been credited back. So they are not currently charging you that, but if we continue with the Infomart card, there is a 15% admin fee on every purchase that is made.
Every purchase?
Yes. So what I'm saying is obviously not sure why you want to do that. So I would recommend you going back to a bank card. Which would work the same way. It's strictly for Harmony purchases. Receipts have to be sent in and the same scenario.
The debit card.
Yes.
So we
Actually,
get-
it was a credit card. It was a debit card until we changed banks. and They
Correct.
no longer wanted
It
a
would be a
debit, so
bank
it's
credit
a
card.
bank credit card.
Oh, we still have that same bank?
I'm not sure what bank.
At the one we changed to, yes. They
So
gave
this
us
is
the
gonna be a credit
previous.
card again?
It will be a credit card, right?
Do we get points?
I can find find out.
In all actuality, the credit card is probably better because if there's a problem, they don't
It
print out your
protects
bank
us.
account, then you gotta go get
Exactly.
it, right? So,
We shut it off.
yeah.
Do we need to vote on this or is it just a
Yeah, let's go ahead and do I hear a motion?
move to approve a CDD credit card for field services?
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Is there a limit that the board would like? Usually it's about either 1,500 or 2,000.
Well,
I don't know what.
it was 5,000 before.
Oh, okay.
I am not, I think we've been spending has, we rarely spent the 5,000 in any given month except for unusual circumstances, right? So I think we'd be comfortable at 2,500 bucks. Right? Sure.
Sure.
Today, we had to pay the $1,800 for the.
Yeah, unusual circumstances.
It is unusual.
Right.
I would suggest that either 3 or 35. That would be my recommendation in case you have that unusual circumstance come up. It was $1,800, so that would like basically taking that part away.
Sorry, is that a third? It's hard to hear you, Brett. Are you suggesting a $3,500 credit limit?
Yeah, I'm suggesting 3,500 because, you know, again, the CD, the gas, we got gas 2 weeks ago for a tune of about $130. Then today we filled up the truck and then the gas cans again, that was close to $200. You know, so if you have that one time, you know, you could be really against the grain on, you know,
Okay.
the wall. So that's just my suggestion.
Okay.
Go with that, 3,500 is fine.
So I'll add with a $3,500 limit to my motion.
Okay, so the motion's been amended. Does the second accept the amendment?
I accept second.
Okay. At this point, anything else on this? I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, you have some updates and reports?
I have one last thing. The board did ask me to reach out to insurance about an ongoing thing that the board had going on. Actually, there's no action on it, but it is ongoing with the insurance company. And yes, so the message is yes, PGCS is going to handle the matter. They're just waiting on the pending coverage opinion from the carrier. Once they receive that, they'll let us know. But yes, they have picked it up. And
This is, are we talking about the Berube versus Harmony Retails?
yes,
So the insurance is going to be covering it from here on out.
from here on out, anything that's needed.
Not
And
what she said.
yes, yes, PGCS is handling the matter from here on out. They are waiting on pending coverage opinion, which what that means is if something was to happen, what their coverage would be, like what the amount coverage would be. Other than that, and I did clarify because I was a little muddy on that. I wanted to be as clear. I did not want to misspeak.
So they have accepted the claim
Yes.
and they are proceeding forward to handle it.
Correct. And if it does go anywhere past where it's at now, they would refer it out to Roper to handle the defense. And then that's it.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, any questions of our district manager? I hear none. We'll move on then to the staff reports. Is our district engineer? Hello, district engineer. We have a mic for you. Feel free, pull up a chair right next to the mic there. You could sit next to me. We've got another mic.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Some of these items will be really quick and some we're going to have a vote on for potential expenditure or retention of professional services. Reserve study, I don't think there's any comment. You guys had a workshop last week. We are providing Steve Schwartz the additional information he needs to finalize his study. North Lake Track L, which is the last piece north of us, has submitted an application for construction of the subdivision. The South Florida Water Management District issued a request for additional information, and in that contains a request that the CDD acknowledge operation and maintenance of the stormwater pond. So before we write that letter, I'm going to review the construction plans and make sure that it's not deviating from your other ponds, so it's easily maintained and properly designed. And then I'll bring forth to you a draft letter for the CDD's approval to give to the district so they can get their permit for track L.
Oh, track L.
Yeah, which is called North Lake.
You mentioned ponds, but take your track for a second. We had plenty of conversation a while back about the neighborhood old pond between Middlebrook and Feathergrass, and that kind of all stopped.
He's monitoring it. He's monitoring, David's monitoring it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still low, and we're going obviously into a dry season. It'll probably get lower and probably get more complaints about the aesthetics. But I will look at it carefully once we start getting back into the spring and summer again.
Okay, I just,
So, yeah,
we had talked about it a lot and I didn't remember the.
end result, yeah, he's
So there was no. end
needs to
result.
watch it for about a year to see how it's performing, so. A question on that issue. Or for the board, do you think we need to bring it back, or do you feel comfortable giving our engineer the ability to go forward with that letter once he reviews this and ascertains whether it's being properly designed?
I see no issue.
I'll probably run by Tim with your permission, just make sure I'm not overcommitting or saying something I shouldn't.
Why we trust our professionals is.
Okay, thank you. All right, second page of my report, wetland conservation areas. I was given direction from the board last month to solicit a fee proposal from another environmental consultant since Austin has failed to continue with the monitoring reports. So I then reached out to Bowman and Blair Ecology, which is our sub-consultant for our master contract. And she produced a proposal that's contained in the agenda package for what she calls phase one, which is review of all the permits, the correspondence, the prior monitoring reports, a site inspection, and evaluating new transect locations for $1,200. I believe since that was issued, the chairman had looked and compared those costs to Austin, and Austin's was higher, their hourly rates. So
Well, they didn't, let me interject. Austin didn't even respond when I went back to them and said, you haven't done the work. And then I had conversations with the water management district folks. They were in agreement that the transects need to be redesigned and relocated because they're not on only one of the 8 is actually on the conservation areas that we can do anything about. So the issue now is getting new transects established and start a new monitoring program that will meet the requirements of the water management district. I asked Austin to provide me with a proposal to set up the new transects and get restarted on that. They did not come through with anything at all. Bowman did the 1,200 for the initial look and evaluation and making sure that we have everything for the water management district that they will need. And she also had an hourly rate. Wasn't that like $70 an hour?
$70 an hour for a senior scientist and a project manager, and $60 an hour for GIS and CAD.
Right.
But I had a question. It says the following compensation for the following services shall be as follows and invoiced monthly. But so it sort of sounds like they want to charge us $1,200 monthly. I'm just, I assume it's just a $1,200 fee, but the wording on this proposal makes it look like it's $1,200 a month.
Every single month. I thought that at first too.
Right. No, that would be a one-time fee for this first look, and then she would be able to come back with recommendations on transects and establishing them and doing the initial monitoring. That would be next. But she does have an hourly rate that you'd go by.
I
I,
read that differently. It just says invoices will be submitted monthly. That's how I took it, which is
Right.
standard language,
So-
but I can see the confusion. but,
Yeah.
um,
So I'm just saying, maybe we need to adjust the proposal so it doesn't appear as though we're agreeing to pay a monthly fee of $1,200. That's all I'm saying.
right, if we approve going with them, then we would work up one of our standard contracts and that would be laid out properly. So I did want to just give a comparison. As you know, the Harmony West is working with biotech to do work. So I did have a copy of their fee proposal, and their cost per hourly cost for a wildlife specialist is $120 an hour. Field biologist is $100 an hour, and the project manager is $135. So I wanted to bring that to your attention too, so that you see that Bowman's prices are definitely, I was very impressed with them as in my former life, I did this work.
I
and,
agree with you because we had been using biotech for this work before.
They were the ones who established the original
Right,
transects.
and they set it all up, and then the money just kept going up and up and up, and at some point we said, hey, wait a minute, and something triggered it, and we said, let's look somewhere else, and we went with Austin because the numbers were significantly lower than what biotech was. And we thought we were getting reasonably good service, but then all of a sudden in the last,
They just dropped off the map
yeah, they
and
fell apart.
failed to perform unless we,
You shouldn't have to beg them to
right.
come take your money, right? So I'm in agreement with the chair, which doesn't happen very often, but that the proposal that we see from Bowman and Brook, I think,
Bowman and Blair.
looks on the surface, the initial rates all look pretty good. The problem is these hours can blow out of control, which you never know, and you got to trust a consultant because the way it goes, right? But I think that the initial proposal is quite in depth, and I think economy wise, probably pretty good.
Move to approve Bowman and Blair's research and site assessment proposal for $1,200.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
I have a motion and a second to approve Blair and Bowman and Blair's proposal for the initial
B&B.
B&B.
Wait a minute, we got confused. We have B&B tree. No, we can't do
Where?
B&B.
We're good. Any other comments concerning this proposal? Hearing none. Any opposition to the motion? Hearing no-
Sorry, I was an I.
An aye, okay. All in favor? I'll go that
Aye.
way. Okay, so unanimous. All right, we will get in touch with Bowman and Blair and get them on board and get that started. So we will remain in compliance with the Water Management District.
Very good.
Well, somewhere in there, it said St. John's Water Management District. I thought we were
It's
dealing
in
with.
South Florida.
It is
Yeah,
South Florida.
yeah, it's-
The details sometimes are important.
Yes.
Right, well, the problem is actually a little corner of Harmony is in St. John's, so we're kind of straddling the fence,
Yeah, I
but
our noticed that. and I was
permitting
like,
is South Florida.
Now we have a new one we got to deal with? Wait a minute. One's enough.
All right, Garden Road. We are continuing to follow up with South Florida Water Management District on the issuance of a no permit required. That asked for $100 to process the request. We paid them on Tuesday. So hopefully we'll get their no permit required exemption granted. So we can finally go back to Florida Gas and get the agreement signed and get this under construction once and for all, so. 3170 Dark Sky Drive, that's the soil issue behind the pool. I got the survey the day before our last board meeting. I'm going out there next week to do the site inspection, so we can do the construction plans, and then I can give it the Infomark on retaining a local contractor to do the work finally, so. The estates, the big one here. This is I was directed last month to reach out to a company that does pipe cleaning and pipe inspection. I reached out to Atlantic Pipe Services, who I've used for many years with cities and counties that I work for. They have provided a proposal that's contained in attachment B, and I'll explain the three different options I gave to you in a second. After this got submitted to Infomart to be published, your agenda packet, I did reach out to St. Cloud, Osceola County, and a city that I worked for 20 years to get some comparison costs or other options. So I got handouts of those emails I'll leave behind and give them to Angel to distribute as well. But the way they price it is the pipes I can visually see that were full of dirt, the ones that Gerhard actually unearthed under the dirt. That was option one, okay? And that was for $16,000 to remove the dirt, pump it clean, and run a camera through it. Then I said, give me an option two, which is all the other pipes that I don't know that are full of dirt that are still within the property. And that was whatever the price is. I don't have it memorized.
22,630.
Thank you. And then I said, just do it together if there's economies of scale, which was the last proposal. There's a $6,000 savings if he does them all at the same time. So with that said, I did get St. Cloud let me know that we're not in St. Cloud, which I knew. I just thought maybe they would charge us for the services, but they said, no, thanks. Then I reached out to Osceola County, and Raymond Stengel replied to back, said, we don't do that, but we do use a company called Shenandoah. You're welcome to use our piggyback contract. And then I reached out to City of DeBerry, who I know very well, and they use Atlantic Pipe Services, and they were getting charged more per day or hour than we have in our current proposal to the CDD. So I thought that was a good sign. So the question is whether or not you want me to pursue a quote from Shenandoah. I've dealt with them in the past. I won't say that I will give them a thumbs up on timeliness. And I looked at the master contract that the county gave me. It's a master list of everything from different size pipes and different elements, but it's not a apple and apple comparison to what I got for this. But I will take the board's direction if you want to move forward with Atlantic Pipe Services or kick this down for another month and try to get a comparison from another consultant.
I am familiar with Atlantic Pipe Services. The company I work for, a sister company, Vacwell, sells them equipment. So we had guys experienced in vacuum truck stuff at a meeting today in Tampa, and I showed them the proposal. And their hourly service charges for that truck are significantly under market rate for that style of truck to go suck the sewer pipes out one night. But the game that gets played is, and you got to trust the people you're dealing with, because you may get a lower rate, but if they tell you it takes 12 hours instead of 8, suddenly your total cost. This is the problem when you have an open-ended deal where you're spending X amount of hours unknown times an hourly rate. The contractor is always going to get what he wants out of it. But
Well,
on the face of
we
it,
can-
those numbers are really good.
Right.
I've
And
used them just 6 months ago in Concord Estates on the Vista Lakes. And they gave us a similar proposal and we did, I think, 7 different areas, and none of them, they went over their budget. So, and I've known them for a long time doing work for cities and county. I mean, I won't promise it won't go over, but they're very reputable.
They are one of the bigger vac truck operators in this region.
the one thing I want to point out to the board that this is not a proposal. They're not saying that these will be the exact amounts they will charge. They are going to charge us on an hourly rate, from what I read. And these are just kind of guesstimates of what it would cost based on the fact that we don't know if the second half of this even, how much it may or may not have sediment in it. It could come in considerably under that cost. So
It could go way over.
it could, we don't know.
I mean, they're 12-inch pipes, most of the ones that are clogged, so it doesn't take much to clog them. I don't expect concrete blocks and things I've seen in the past stuck in there, but you don't know. But I do know that all the quotes I've got from all these years, they never exceeded them. So
One of the things that I saw in there was off-site disposal, which is a fairly significant fee. And you may have multiple off-site disposals charges, depending on how full that truck gets. The question becomes, this is construction debris, mostly silt and sand. Does the board want to consider having them dump what's removed from the pipes somewhere on our property, which is what we did when Brownies was here, sucking all the dirt out of that excavation?
Where did they dispose of it?
Say it again.
Where did they dispose of it?
You know, the big mounds along the garden road, the road to the garden, they were just dumping in there and it looked like dump truck loads of fill that got dumped there. It's relatively clean, it's dirt.
Right, but that's not our property.
Well, it ended up on our property. We made sure of that. It's over there somewhere. I remember seeing it, but it got dumped on our, you're not talking huge mountains here. It's,
Yeah, they're 12-inch pipes, so it's like a whole lot to come
Right.
out of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
so, you know, it can save you.
Travel time.
I think it's, yeah, and that's what the money is, because they got to travel that truck down the road.
Yeah.
And it's hours and hours, and that's why they charge a good amount.
Plus you
So,
probably charge by weight, and if it's wet, that's the problem with getting rid of lumber. When it's wet,
Right.
it's.
it's a combination of everything. You know?
okay, so if you can verify that we have a disposal site that will not get us into trouble with.
I told them Buck Lake, but they didn't want to do that, so.
Oh, you are a funny man.
But yeah, there should be area over there that's our property.
Okay,
You want
so,
to do just the ones that are broken, or you want to do the whole thing is the other question I'll ask them. I'm not sure if you want to do the ones I know with my own eyes, I saw them full, but I don't know what the other ones look like. It's up to you, but there's a.
I would
$6,000
recommend
savings.
that we
All of them.
do all of them in one fell swoop. The estates, last time it rained, oh my gosh, and we need to get it done pretty expeditiously.
Because what these guys do is they shoot a jet of water, high pressure
Sure.
water up the
Super.
pipe and blast, and then it blows it all
Okay,
back
we-
and the vacuum sucks all the mud out.
We're running out of time and I, Supervisor Castle, do you have any questions about this?
I just had to make sure I was unmuted. Just the fact that it's a considerable expenditure and, you know, just a little caution because we haven't gotten competitive bids. I understand that, you know, the various factors involved in terms of, you know, Mr. Berube to had somebody look at it, it's under market value or, you know, prices and it's a good company. So I'm not quite comfortable, but you know, if the rest of the board is going to go with Atlantic Pipe, then I'm okay.
When you have an open-ended hourly number, you have to put a lot
I
of.
wonder if we can do a not to exceed, I guess. That's where I was kind of thinking.
Let me ask them if I get a savings on disposing on sites. I am assuming they will come.
I don't really want, I don't know, I'm sorry, I just had to, you know, I'm looking after my mother this evening as I don't have a caregiver today, so I just had to step away for a moment when that was suggested and I didn't get back in time to address it, but I'm not in favor of disposing on site. Just in case there's, you know, some kind of toxic or hazardous waste or something in there. And if their price includes it, then I'm happy. I'm not looking forward to saving money so that we can dispose on site. But that's just me.
It's dirt
It's not just dirt.
from the ground. I mean, you know.
Well,
Everything-
yeah, it should just be dirt. Again, we don't know. We've had companies out there. I've had situations in other areas where one of the residents decided to use that for their oil disposal area. So we would just have to look at that closely and make sure that anything that we may dispose of on site, and again, the only way we do it on site disposal, if we have our engineer look at it, we don't want to get crosswise with the water management district. We have a lot of sensitive areas around here. So that would be the only way the on site would work, is if we have the okay from them to get that done. Supervisor Lee?
Yeah, I'm in favor of this being the more dry season, in favor of getting more information from our district engineer. Otherwise, I trust his judgment.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I would entertain a motion if anybody has a motion they'd like to put on the floor.
And you're doing all, correct?
Yes, for 32,820. If you want to put not to exceed of 34 or 35,000, that's up to you.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion or?
I'm trying to figure out how to word it. This is this.
Okay, I'll jump in here. I move that we go ahead and take the third option, clean out and scope all of the drain pipes listed. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, and 12 for a not to exceed of $34,000. But it's to be done on an hourly rate of, what was that, $285 an hour for the vac trucks. Using, no, that wasn't, that was,
It was 260.
that was, I'm sorry, that was DeBerry's. What was it, 260?
260 for the back truck, and then I got the TV truck is separate.
Okay. As is in the proposal by Atlantic Pipe Services. Do I hear a second?
Are we going to add a not to exceed to that of 35,000?
Yeah, I had 34,000.
If you can't hear that, Carol, it's not to exceed $34,000.
Got it.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye.
All right, two more, and then we're gonna let the rest. you
Hearing
can
no
read on your own.
opposition, motion
Sorry.
passes.
Can I ask a question for you? Mark?
Certainly.
Do you want this to come out of reserves, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure.
Village Trail, last board meeting, you had asked me to reduce the scope of work and to request 2 proposals from 2 different surveyors. I did request a proposal from Johnston again, as well as Kissimmee Valley. I got a revised proposal from Johnston 2 days later, and I never heard back from Kissimmee Valley. Johnson's survey, revised survey for the north portion is $3,500. That's the stake, install monuments, topographic survey, and produce an AutoCAD drawing in order for us to finish the trail and put the gate and all that kind of stuff.
Against the original was what, 45, 42?
Well, I remember we had a 4,000 one, then we had the whole trail was like for 8,000. So we scaled it back just to focus on the north area only. And then per the board's requests, we were asked to get at least 2 proposals. So I gave 2 separate emails, one to Kissimmee Valley and one back to Johnson with the same scope of work.
So is there a savings there then? Is that what you're referring to? Did we drop from 4,000 to
No,
3,500 with Johnson?
it's not even, we just changed the whole
Change the whole
survey
thing,
scope.
so it's,
Yeah.
it's not a comparison.
Yep.
But the fact is, only one guy responded.
Yep.
End of story.
Thank you for going that extra mile to request the second bid. I appreciate it.
No problem. And I got copies of that email as well for the record. So I need a vote if the board so entertains it to.
Move to, sorry. Move to approve the.
I'll second.
Frat party, I don't know.
He's at his wife's graduation, I think.
So we have a motion and that's it?
We
I'll
have a
second.
motion.
I'll
I have a second. All in favor of approving Johnson surveying the north end of Billy's Trail for a total of $3,500, including permanent monuments?
Aye.
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 Aye,
Hearing no
aye, aye.
opposition, approved unanimously.
Did we hear Dan? I missed all that.
Last thing, and I'm done, is the RV storage area.
No, you keep going. You're doing fine.
No, Tim's got stuff on here, I'm sure.
We don't need to.
Or Harmony Cove easements. It came back to us from Steve Boyd and their attorney. There's some slight deed issues. Angel, the chairman, myself, and Tim are reviewing all these legal documents to see what needs to be done to clean this up for track B-1 with this Harmony Cove easement agreement we approved 2 months ago or 2 board meetings ago. So that's work in progress. RV boat and storage area, I did hear back from the county today. They may entertain us putting the fence up without an official site plan, site development plan resubmittal. But the fence has got to match what was previously submitted by Mr. Boyd. And then is a 6-foot high chain link fence with a scrim. Never heard that word before. I looked it up on the way here. It's a fabric or something you hang on the outside of the fence
To
to
obscure
block
visual.
the visual.
Screen.
It's a screening device.
All the way around?
Yep.
Is it all the way around or
Yes.
just on the 10-foot section?
I'll read it.
And I think the
10-foot
10-foot
section had to be
sections
landscape area.
Yeah.
around the land, the Cervello lot.
Yeah,
Isn't
the
that
green
right?
stuff.
And I'll forward this as well. This came in today. But we may support placement of the required fencing prior to site plan approval. However, the fence shall comply 10 foot in the front with landscaping and the green scrim. And the other part is the 6 foot high. Well, it doesn't say scrim on that, so maybe we're
Mm-mm.
okay, Steve.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the rest.
Yeah,
of it.
because that was the original agreement.
There's a block the front there.
Yeah, the front, because you had the gate and you can't put the landscape, permanent landscape in front. So the scrim was, and we didn't call it screening at the last time,
Screening is what I thought it was a
but
typo.
the gate had to be covered in green fabric so people can't see through the gate. And then where the gate isn't, the 10-foot fence had to have mature landscaping
Okay.
in front of it. So that's why I said all the way around, because that wasn't where we were the last
All
time.
right, so it
No,
seems
it's
like they're
just-
on board for entertaining that. So no cost yet. I'll confirm with an official submittal, and if they give us a thumbs up, then we can get back with the fence company to do.
So that's kind of an okay, but not really yet.
It's in,
Not really,
cautiously
you're
optimistic,
right.
yep.
Mhm.
Sorry, it's what?
Not a flat no.
It's
It's
better
not a
than
flat
no.
no, so
Yeah.
I think the
I'm
other.
Two people talking at the same time. I didn't hear what that last thing was.
It's not an
Wait.
official no, we just have to make an official request to put the perimeter fence in and respectfully request avoiding the site development review process.
Okay, thank you.
Because it didn't make sense to have the scrim all the way around because it's surrounded by woods.
Correct.
Okay, next item.
Professional survey services, I think we were requested, or the board was looking into getting a continuing services and arrangement for a surveyor. So we don't have to keep pricing future work. It'll expedite the process. I believe I got to coordinate with Angel and probably Tim to generate a RFQ, request for qualifications, to retain a surveyor to provide future survey services. Neighborhoods C1 and C2, I just haven't got to that, to be honest with you, because I know we've had other things going on, but we'll try to get to that fairly soon to get that underway. The dog park, the only unresolved issue in the dog park is coordinating with Lake Tahoe to finish the water service line connection. So that's,
Is that for the dog park?
yes, ma'am.
And when do they estimate they'll get to it?
In light of the recent change in staff, I need to see where things were left off and where we need to pick it up and get it done.
There was an email sent to Toho. They came out, then they were gonna charge additional for a different type of hookup. There was some discrepancy back and forth between Gerhard and Toho, and that's where it was left. So we have to get with Toho to determine what exactly they need from us to get this set up.
And Angel,
So
I'll
it's
give you the
underway.
emails to forward to everybody. So
Okay.
thank you very much.
I appreciate your detailed reports, by the way.
You're welcome.
Yes, you, David.
We can tell you're spending a lot of time and burning a lot of money.
Okay, we'll go on to the district
We
councils
see that detailed report.
at this
and
point,
It's good reading.
Appreciate it.
since we're very short on time.
Now that we fixed it, using your personal for now, it's fixed. You're not getting my emails for some reason, so.
Yeah, you were one of the ones that kept.
Yeah, bouncing back.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members. Yes, just one. There's one item for approval, but there's 4 items on the list. But the only thing that needs board approval is the updated tree care policy. The 3 changes made at the workshop were made.
Move to approve as amended.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I like it. Looks good. Hearing no discussion, further discussion. I'll call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
This is separate from
All
having any work
opposed?
done, right?
Right. All opposed? Hearing no opposition, passes unanimously.
So I'm just gonna skip to give an update because the rest is all in writing. But the Florida Commission on Ethics opinion regarding meeting space worked with the commission quite a bit, but what they basically come down to is having taken a closer look, I feel like this is the Ethics Commission attorney. I feel like the commission would likely construe the donation of a lease as doing business. Therefore, our advice is not to, even though it was a super generous offer and it's a little bit frustrating. But the only thing we can assure is that if you don't contract with the first nature, that there won't be any issue. If you do, there could be an issue. So that's the update on that. Try to look for other space.
Got it.
Unless there's specific questions, I'll be done.
All right, just
Okay.
let you know, we'll give an update real quickly. The towing contract. We did find a provider that had a tow storage yard within the statutory limits. St. Cloud, they were out today putting up signs, so that's well underway. So our towing policy, we approved it on 10/28. There's no charge to the district whatsoever for the towing. And they're even providing the signs.
Correct.
So that's good. Sunshine law and social media memos in the package. Please read it and respect it and understand we've got to clean up our act or we could be paying out a lot more legal fees. And
I do want to commend the supervisor that asked first before shooting. It's usually a good idea. So, thank you.
yes. Thank you. All right, field managers report.
Hey, Brett, have you been busy lately?
Slightly busy.
Oh, I noticed you're getting some gray hair, dude.
No, but
That's just new.
it's my boss.
All right,
much
quickly. I'm sorry to interrupt the
All
chatter,
right,
but we need to
so
concentrate.
again, obviously there's, I want to introduce Vincent. If you could come up, that'd be great. Up here, Vincent.
I didn't know that.
What's Vincent's last name, please?
Morrell, Morrell.
Thank you.
No problem. So Vincent is the field manager that we brought on board to take over the reins of the field services here at Harmony. Since starting, Vincent, a little backstory on Vincent, he came from another community where he was our lead maintenance tech there, overseeing the day-to-day operations on site where, trash, debris pickup, grinding sidewalks, pressure washing around clubhouses, cleanliness of pool areas, so on and so forth. So we felt that, he brought a lot of task-oriented ideas to the role that we needed in this position. So Vincent's here. He's got my full support. He's got Julie's full support. We've been interacting, Angel's full support. Pardon? I worked with him as well. Yeah, David did work with him at a prior district as well. So very communicative, very task-oriented. He's already been riding around. He's got a notepad full of, check. We're working on certain items. Right now, we're tackling a lot of sidewalk grindings along 5 Oaks Drive and pressure washing. So we have addressed some pressure washing issues at the Estates Pocket Park, Ashley Pool, and then again, Town Square was cleaned up and actually kind of perfect timing for the HOA event that took place last week. And again, 5 Oaks is where he's kind of focusing a lot of attention, working his way towards the Caprior section. So Vincent,
You want to turn just a little bit to show the the camera is right there. There are 2 more of us on the other end of the camera.
So, Vincent, again, all emails can continue to come, through me. We can copy Vincent on them. It's similar email as mine, Brett.president, Vincent.morell at Infomark. We're here to continue to address and assist the residents of Harmony, and with the concerns that they have on common area maintenance and field staff related items. And we want to be proactive as possible. And I will tell you that Vincent is very, very proactive, and he's already building rapport with the landscape vendor, and Pete and him are in constant contact. I can give an example. We were leaving the restaurant today in Town Square. The irrigation came on. I went out and took a picture and sent it to Pete and Scotty right away saying, hey, we got a broken irrigation head. 2 minutes later, without him even knowing, sent the same picture. So it's stuff like that it's good. And
Lots of good eyes on
He's
it.
also copied on, he gets the CDD
Maintenance
maintenance.
at Infomark.
At Infomark for Harmony. He
.com.
gets those as well. Yes, so.
I keep putting a pitch in for
And
that.
he has been interacting very well with staff. Staff has been interacting very well with Vincent. So we feel like we've got pretty good traction right now on where things are going. Obviously, we're going to find some things that we aren't 100% sure on, and we will, bring that to your attention at that time, or ask for suggestions. I did reach out to Steve about the boat reservations. I did email the gentleman. I did not get a response. So
That's not unusual.
okay.
I have a relationship with him. I will, how long ago did you do that?
2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, or early last week.
I'll reach out and say, hey, you
So,
know, give us a little hand here. He may not understand the change,
It's okay.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
So again, just want to introduce Vincent. I will kind of give a quick recap over some items that we're working on. Vincent, you can stand here, you can sit down, however you want to.
You look nervous. It's
I have a
okay.
question.
Not as bad as it appears. Yeah,
Okay, we're,
6 months might be different. but-
Question.
we're gonna move forward.
I have a question. Is Vincent interim or is he considered permanent?
It's a good question, Carol. He is permanent. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right.
A couple of updates on field action. Towboat, deposit was made. The order for the materials placed, did confirm with him. I have an email that I was fixing to send out. The U-bar will be installed. There will be, the sides, the flooring and the bow will have a non-skid
Surface.
surface for safety reasons. So tomorrow he's taking the motor off, start the work.
Start
So
prepping.
we're not going to be installing the rear swivel seats.
Mhm.
Those will be gone. So your bow and your stern will have some additional, basically butt seating, you want to call it that.
Okay.
Or it's,
It needs weight
Right.
in the front.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that will be addressed. The material he's using is a little heavier duty stuff and there's a solid warranty on it. So I asked for an update on completion. He's, again, parts are on order, the material's on order. So my guess is we'll be end of January, end of January, not in January, end of January is what I'm assuming.
Okay.
But he's been very communicative as well.
Good.
In the agenda, there's some electric cart quotes that were requested from last meeting. I did get, I think it was Kissimmee Motorsports and drawing a blank on the Advantage, I believe, carts. Is that what it is, Julie? Thank you. The Yamaha UMAX, yeah, Advantage golf carts and the Polaris. The Yamaha UMAX is sitting right around what we paid for the last one. It's 11,361.
And are we in need right now, or do we need to wait until we figure out what?
I will say that we probably are getting close to being in need.
Okay.
The Viking is on its last leg, if not gone. And I'm going to ask for Steve's input because he and I did sit down and talk. I'm not fully versed on all of these carts and the history and how old some of them are.
Mhm.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the Viking is struggling.
3 years old.
No,
No, then it wasn't the Viking.
no, the
Landmaster.
The
mule,
landmat,
the mule,
Oh, the mule.
the Kawasaki
Kawasaki.
mule, the purple one, is now almost 11 years old. That's the oldest. The Bobcat is right in there. The Bobcat is already out of service.
correct.
The Landmaster is about a 14 or 15. It's to the side for, probably needs a carburetor clean, but that's a separate issue. The Viking should be fine,
Sorry.
but it's okay. There's a lot of stuff going on. I get it.
Yes.
But it needs the trailer hitch area updated so it can pull heavier than the trash trailers.
Okay.
And you have the Polaris, the XD, which is the single vehicle that should be pulling that pressure washer now. It is the only one we have that's rated to pull it. They will all pull it, but they can't all stop that pressure washer.
Right.
It's heavy when it's full of water.
Can the UMAX? do
The UMAX
pressure?
cannot. The UMAX is not made for, the UMAX is rated the same as the Mule, the Landmaster, the Viking. The Viking is higher, but the UMAX is rated for 1,500 pounds pull.
Mhm.
The Viking is at 2,000. The Polaris is at 2,500. The pressure washer weighs just under 2,500 pounds.
Okay, so we need really to find something to replace that Polaris.
Well,
I saw it the other day. The answer is yes.
Yes.
well,
So-
what was pull, you mean for pulling a pressure washer?
I mean, the unit itself needs to go to the landfill.
The Polaris XD?
Oh, no.
The Polaris is the newest one.
Yeah.
Oh, not the newest one, the Bobcat.
The Bobcat is, yeah.
Okay.
The Bobcat and the Mule are
The Bobcat was your only other vehicle that had the rating to pull that pressure washer.
that's been out for a while.
Right. As the Bobcat was going downhill, we recognized that and bought the Polaris for having a vehicle to pull that pressure washer.
So To go to, I can get quotes now. I can defer to you all on what you want to see, but I know that the Kubota RTVs are rated to pull pretty solid.
Those are EVs?
They're not. They're
No.
diesel.
You won't find an
I
EV
don't
that's
think
over 1,500 pounds.
I don't know.
No, that's-
Is that Polaris EV
The one you asked me to get
Right.
is,
is rated?
It's
Yeah.
rated for 2,500?
oh, no. I don't know if
Well,
it's
I don't
rated,
know,
it's-
but it was touted on the information I'd seen.
The
You don't-
Polaris, or yeah, the Polaris was 15,000.
1,500.
No, we'll talk
Oh, you
about
mean
it.
money.
$15,000.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
definitely
talking,
more expensive.
I'm talking the towing rate.
I will check on that. I did not
So
check that.
let's go back to because we need to have a backup vehicle in case the Polaris, we need at least 2 vehicles that can pull the pressure
To
washer.
that point, if we take the Yamaha Viking, which he started out with,
Mhm.
and have the trailer hitch, bring it to Twin City Welding or someplace, and we have the trailer hitch that's on there now removed, patch the area where it's broken, moved up 4 inches, it will now have the capability of carrying the pressure washer, because you change the way the trailer hitch sits. You're not loading.
But
it
that's
back.
rated at 2,500?
A little bit under, I think. It's pretty close, but it has been pulling, it has been used to pull the pressure washer. It has really the capability.
I use it all the time.
It was
That's what I
used all
use
the
it
time. That's right.
Okay.
But the problem was, if you ever saw it on the street, Madam Chairwoman, the pressure washer sits like this on the back of the
Mhm.
Viking, and that weight load overloads the trailer hitch. That
Okay.
was the problem. If we move the trailer hitch up, which is gotta be fixed anyway, you bring it up to level or above, now the weight transfers to the back, puts more axle load on the pressure washer itself instead of on the axles of the Viking, and it'll be fine. That would be your backup. Rather than
Okay.
go out and buy another vehicle specifically for tow rating and spend $18,000.
Yeah,
Because let's face it, most of the day, these guys are just zipping around town.
Right.
The
I-
EVs are the way to go.
Right, but I want to make sure that
We
we
have
have
the
the
capability when
capacity.
one's
that-
broken. I
Right,
understand.
right.
Right.
The right way to do that would be to buy or fix the Viking, which is an easy fix. And buy another EV, whether it's a Yamaha or whatever, but that price that you're getting right there, if you can get one,
It's solid.
that's a great price.
Yeah.
Do
'Cause
they
you
have
pay-
them available?
He said they did. Now, that was 2 months ago when I pulled that, so I'll have to double check.
All right, does the board have a pleasure, or we do have it in our budget. This was a line item that we approved at budget time.
Move that out of your reserve? Or is it in the
Mm,
actual?
There's
No,
a
it's in
capital-
the
there's a
actual
line
capital, yeah.
for 15,000? I don't remember. We
Yeah, I
did
can't
put capital in.
Uh-huh.
More
So
than-
just so I understand correctly, the suggestion at this point in the conversation is to fix the Viking so that it can be a temporary hauler of the pressure washer should the Polaris be out of service. And then we're considering buying this UMAX Yamaha vehicle as an electric vehicle for an additional field services regular vehicle. Is that right?
Yeah, that would
that's
be
where we're at,
replacing
yes.
the mule.
Right.
The
So I moved to purchase the UMAX at, what was it, $11,400?
It was right around there. I think it was 11,361.
61.
Yeah. Oh. So I've made my motion.
Well,
to
Okay,
Approve purchase of the UMAX at 11,361. I'll second that.
okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
yes. Can we get rid of the junk that we don't need?
Yeah, that's on the list to sell or, scrap, and then obviously the money goes back to the district.
I mean, I would think so. It's otherwise what? Auction? It's
Anything that the district sells goes into surplus.
right.
Is what you all have it set up.
It's a shame to sell them in the condition they're in because you're not gonna get much more, but hey, that's the way the game plays, right?
Take the pressure washer and tell them to clean them up a bit.
There we go. We'll clean them up and sell them. All right, I have a motion and a second to purchase a UMAX at the estimated price. All in favor?
All right.
I,
All opposed? Hearing no opposition, passes unanimously. Okay, thank you.
One last thing.
Oh, you've got a couple more.
Yeah. The footbridges, golf cart traffic on the footbridges. Discussion of signs going up. We can definitely get quotes to get some signs ordered to put up.
Mhm.
The other option, and I've seen it at Disney, good Fort Wilderness, but they have the footbridge. They do have a bollard kind of block.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Yeah.
You can get by with a bike,
Yeah.
but you can't get a cart through. So,
So what is it, a bollard? Oh, in the middle of the bridge?
well, right before
Right.
you get to the
The
entrance,
entrance, I see.
and it can be wood. I've seen them. Actually, that's what Disney has, is a big solid wood one. They did. Now it's maybe metal.
I just have trouble seeing me swing my bike past it.
It can be a little tricky.
Yeah.
Why are we concerned about,
We've
There are
had,
there's golf cart traffic going up.
yeah, I understand that, but
they're not designed for them. Yes. The footbridges, when we originally talked about the footbridges, I mentioned it to Steve Boyd, who was our engineer at that time and who's familiar with the construction of the footbridges. And I thought he was going to have a coronary. He goes, please, please don't allow any golf courts on those footbridges because they are not designed for it, because it's the golf cart. And now you've got golf carts that you're loading 6 and 7 people into.
Well, you could probably drive a 1-ton truck over.
you
it.
could, that bridge is not moving.
All I know is he was very upset about it and very concerned about the structural integrity of that bridge.
And maybe we
So-
can ask our engineer.
Pardon?
Yep.
Yeah, he's right here.
I'd like to hear from David, but also if we're looking at mitigation, can we look at narrowing versus putting something up in the middle? Would that be a more bike-friendly approach?
Let's listen to
I'm not
Mr.
worried about the weight as much as the speed of those golf carts. You start, shaking those boards loose, and they're nailed in there. So I'm more concerned with the speed they go through there.
And that's exactly what happens on the golf course with the bridge that they have. It's made out of like 6x6 timber or whatever it is, 4x6 timbers, and they just get loose. But I mean, that's, hundreds of carts going over it. And
Does it change your mind?
I did not hear what Mr.
Ruth?
Hamster said.
I'm sorry?
I did not hear what Mr.
Can't
Hamster
hear you.
said.
Yeah, sorry, David. It's a front facing mic, but
They're screwed down pretty well.
He thought he was done.
The other thing they're doing is the golf carts are nicking the boards on either side because the width of it is not designed for golf cart traffic. And it is starting to show some wear and tear on those too.
And I don't want to sound like an old grumpy engineer, but I also see a lot of kids driving them recklessly. And I think it'd be better served to keep them off. Just
And then what is the best option for making it friendly for bicycles and pedestrians and people walking dogs, but not golf carts? What are the best?
bollards at other places and it nips it right in the bud. And there's plenty of room to get a wheelchair, a bicycle around it, but it keeps the ATVs and the golf carts off of it.
You can actually get them to match your footbridges too,
Mhm.
the wood. They look
there's that option, and there is one where they make a temporary, not temporary, but a base that you actually tap on into the concrete, or maybe that's not the right word, but bolt into the concrete, and it's a yellow bollard. To me, and there's reflective tape on it.
No, I don't want any yellow bars.
I understand, but if someone's driving at night, can't see
To
it.
the
Okay,
chair's-
again,
Wait a minute, to the chair's point, it can be tough with bicycles, people riding side by side, all of that, somebody in a wheelchair, a woman pushing a stroller or something like that, a baby carriage. I would, and there's also the look effect of a pipe sticking out
Right.
of the ground. How about if we just narrowed the entrance?
yeah,
one
just
side.
put a decorative strip on either side,
4 by
narrow the
4 on each
entrance.
side would probably do it with some lattice work on it. Just narrow that entrance to a couple of inches narrower than a golf cart. And then it looks good.
Mhm.
But
Done.
What happens when the first time a golf cart tries to go through it?
Well,
figure it out.
again, let's take this a little broader too.
And it looks.
Our-
it makes it look good.
The golf cart statute or ordinance that we're under says they must remain on the public roadways. They are not allowed. None of our facilities, our sidewalks aren't designed for them. We've got a situation where they straddle the sidewalks and rut up the sod on either side of the sidewalks. They're just getting to be a mess in our community when they get off the road. They're wonderful when they're on the roads. I understand, and people love them, but they need to stay off. And I don't know how much signage it would take. a lot of people just don't know that they're not allowed to jump the curb and go wherever they want to in their golf cart.
Oh, yeah, the sidewalks, everything.
So can we authorize our field services staff to assess the situation, to possibly narrow the footbridge openings so that it will not allow golf carts to pass?
I can tell you a sign has never stopped me. in my
No,
life.
I'm not gonna stop it. You need a physical barrier.
Well, that's what I'm saying for the
Spike
footbridges, but we can't put a physical barrier everywhere to keep
no.
them off of
Yeah, you can't do anything about the sidewalks.
sidewalks and sod, but we need to put some informative signs up just to let people know that the golf carts are required to remain on the public roadways and alleyways.
I think that if we narrowed the entrances, it could be done nicely, so it looks like an improvement to the end of the bridge, It doesn't take a whole lot of imagination, 4x4, 6x6 screwed on, some lattice work or some trim. And the golf cart people are gonna realize
That
that it's
they
now
can't go through.
narrow and they're not gonna get through. And that just means making it a couple of inches narrow. And most go-karts, I think, are 42 inches wide, I believe.
We can go
We can
measure.
figure that out, right? Check the UMax, it's a standard golf cart width. And make it a
So-
little bit narrower than that, and that stops it.
Yes, 36 inches clear at the base.
Mhm.
Yeah, we probably.
So we could
down
get in
around
between those two.
38 or something like that.
Okay.
And do something like that.
Vincent
So
and I will take a peek at that. and
you'll
see what we
put
can do.
something together and make it happen. And even if it's just a sign up at the beginning of the community, maybe as people come in, like we have the signs that say you can't drive your golf cart past here. It's coming in, it's golf cart community, but golf carts must remain on the paved roads. Or designated trails, because we do have, I think, 1 or 2 designated trails that can go on, but they can't be jumping the curbs and.
Thanks for
running
the suggestion. I now have my topic for the Harmony Life magazine this month.
Good.
Bada bing.
All right.
All I need is
Um,
the little GIF of the sign.
Any further discussion? Are any of the supervisors opposed to that proposal?
You mean narrowing it?
Narrowing it and putting signs. up.
Yeah, we have a specific problem area. But definitely narrowing the bridges sounds good.
You like that? Thank you, Dan. All right. So we'll send you forth to
Okay.
go fix our golf cart.
Can you get that done by like Friday?
We've got a tree
Yeah, just say
tree
that's just-
proposal. Do you want to go over that?
The, which tree proposal, the B and B?
Yes, B and B had a proposal. They had a proposal to do a inventory. They also had a quote in their tree maintenance thing for doing maintenance, trimming of the trees per size, based on size.
Yeah, and I can cover that, sure.
Okay.
At the workshop, we discussed it as well, and I did get Brightview Tree Services out here. They were out here yesterday. I just received the proposal a few minutes ago. They are higher than B and B. I
Okay.
don't have exact apples to apples pricing on that, or not apples to apples, but the exact breakdown on per tree and caliber. They were not as thorough in their price structure as B and B was, so we basically used the same scope of services in the format that B and B had and sent that off to Brightview for an additional quote. I have reached out to 2 other tree vendors and I haven't gotten a response back yet. In terms of the tree inventory, it can be very useful for a long-term plan like we're talking about with trimming these street trees. But I think the concern I have, and I think we've discussed a little bit, is we have to move forward on getting the maintenance pruning on these trees that abut homes, especially on areas like Caprior, where these mature oaks are really getting either touching homes or close to touching homes. So the tree inventory, I think, can be a secondary piece to getting the tree trimming process moving. I think we're gonna have to review this second proposal at the next meeting, because obviously it's not in this agenda. But there is basically, if you guys recall, B&B gave kind of 2 prices on caliper sizes and so on and so forth. Or Brightview just came in and said, here's our price for each, one price.
Different species.
Yeah.
So are we going to table the tree inventory proposal for now? And we're discussing actually maintaining street trees that abut houses? Is that what we're?
That's what I would like to do. I'm satisfied with Brett's statement that B and B is the lower bid and that Brightview, who is a second quote, is higher. So if the board would be comfortable, and again, we are at the prime time to do this tree maintenance trimming on our live oaks. Because if we delay it into the spring, then when you trim it, correct me if I'm wrong, then you get the, what do they call it, water sprouts, which then causes, again, a whole nother problem.
I know we have a policy in place for purchases and all that stuff. I don't like the policy, but we need to stick to it. However, I'm going to agree with the chair again, twice tonight. Good Lord. And move and suggest that we go forward with B&B. The guy showed up at our Zoom meeting. He speaks well. You've seen his work. And this would be based on quality of presentation. He just seems like a quality contractor, an upright guy, local, demonstrated his ability. Couldn't pick apart.
Make your motion, please.
Okay.
I'll let the chair make that. But I'm just saying I agree with you. So you say what you want to do. And
I move that we go ahead and authorize the chair to enter a contract with B&B Tree Service on a per tree price as he has provided in his information based on caliper size so that we can have him begin working on our boulevard trees that abut residential properties.
Second.
Wait a minute. Don't stop short though, because if you think about Cat Briar, you're gonna trim all these trees on this side, and then you have very similar trees on the other side.
We can come back to them later. We're doing what is the most critical now to keep our residents from having to incur the cost of doing their own trimming and from illegally trimming them too far back and damaging our trees.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about the view.
The view you will not see. This man is just amazing.
I mean,
it's
you're gonna
not
have perfectly trimmed trees on this side, but rough trees over here.
they're gonna look about the same, just pulled back from the houses. You're not going to notice a difference between the sides.
Okay. How
You
many
really
are we
won't.
gonna do? What area?
I think we should start with our boulevard trees. We only have residents for the most of our boulevards. That's and that would be the limited, the mature oaks. We don't need to go in for the little tiny oaks. But basically, we would have field services go around and any tree that is within, say, 5 feet of the residence, right, would be designated to be maintenance pruned. I don't know how many that is now. And then go forward with starting on that. We will, within the next month until we come back to the board, not to exceed, let's see, what is it, about $65 a tree?
I mean, you're gonna spend the money sooner or later anyway. Put $10,000 in it.
Right. We'll start with a budget of $10,000. And
Now,
we'll see where
to
we
your
go.
point, many of the interior streets don't have the big tree problem, but Beargrass Road is one. You can see it.
Well, we'll come back to
trees
those
are
later.
intruding on houses
Let's,
there.
yeah, let's do this. These are the biggest
So what
problems.
we
is
talking about?
those-
Schoolhouse, Cat Briar, Five Oaks,
Mhm.
full length all the way around.
That's 153 trees is what that equates to.
At 10,000, yeah, 65. Okay.
Well, if every tree needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just
Right.
saying, if you take 10,000 and the average cost is 65.
Okay, so
that's 153 trees.
We'll
That's a
start.
pretty good lick.
We'll start with this. And this will be our start. So that's my motion. I'm sorry.
Well,
Carol seconded it. Are you still good with that, Carol?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
I'm getting scared. I keep agreeing with you.
Okay.
Yes.
Sit down.
No, you've
No, no, no,
got,
you stay on the
I
hot
thought we
seat.
had a lot more stuff to cover. but-
you do.
Correct.
Hey, Vincent, next month.
That's you.
Brad is still working with CPRO. They haven't given us a proposal yet on the hydrilla treatments. I did reach out to Estate Management and Cytex Aquatics, both vendors we've used in the past on different districts. And for the hydrilla control on Cherry Hill Lake, saying that correctly.
No.
Pond.
Cherry,
Well,
yeah,
Cherry Hill, yeah, okay, Cherry Hill Pond.
the pond
Cherry Hill-
behind
behind
Cherry Hill.
You know, and both vendors want to make sure that you understand that they want to come out and do a physical site visit, get their accurate depths for themselves, because the treatments that they're looking for, there's two separate treatments. There's fluoridone, and then there was another one called Aquathol. Aquathol is a little bit more expensive. It's faster results on the hydrilla, but it may require less product per acre of water, body of water.
Should be the same result though.
What about the carp, the grass carp?
I don't think those are gonna control the hydrilla the way you need them to.
Well, not that size maybe, but if we got 12 to 14-inch grass carp that wouldn't escape out the outlets of the ponds, they might help a lot.
Traps or some sort of.
You gotta put a screen on the
You have
outlet.
to put grates and stuff in, but fish is just like it's what they call it's a three-prong approach. It's one of
Right.
several other things. It's not something you can do alone.
You need the initial shot to take it down, then the fish probably maintain
Yes.
the new growth.
So state management says that, you know, the control of the hydrillas, they're estimating it's 3.62 acre pond. We believe the best control for the hydrillas by stocking, they're talking about the carp and then the herbicide as well. So you're looking at $1,050 for carp. Carp will require 3 to 4 months to create impact, but typically 5 to 7 years of control. And then they said the herbicide option would be, you know, 20 parts per billion acre of sonar is the product they're recommending, and that's $3,300. And then the other vendors stating, if they're saying it's 6.6 or 3.62 acres, 650 per acre for Aquathol, and it's 450 per acre for the sonar, which is a
So
similar.
it's 2353 for the aquathol on that size lake based on estate manages, and sonar would be 1629.
I originally used
Is the
sonar.
sonar AS the stuff the C Pro you was using? Okay,
Active ingredients, fluoridone, I believe.
okay.
Is $1,050 for the carp all inclusive with everything we need to do? Or are we required to fix the infrastructure to contain the carp?
It states that they would be stocking with carp. It doesn't state.
Yeah, we'd
anything
have to
about
do the infrastructure.
structure.
And the other thing with the grass carp, they're indiscriminate eaters. Now, I'm trying to recall that pond. If we have any decent littoral vegetation we want to keep in that pond, they will consume it.
What I've read is that they prefer the softer foliage of plants like hydrilla.
Bright greens.
In other words, that's their preference. If we run out of hydrilla, then they will go for
Exactly.
plants that are more fibrous.
Right.
We've
They'll go
done the carp thing before and it wasn't a,
I don't think we got carp that were of sufficient size to really do the job, and we probably didn't put grates in our outlets and prevented them from going elsewhere.
Am I remembering that the carp was on that waterside pond that we've had other issues with as well?
no, the only, we put the carp in the 2 ponds at the entrance to the estates initially. I kind of remember that because it got to be about the 5 or 6 year period and they all died off. And we had a fish kill for whatever. As it turned out, it was just, they got old and they were big. they all floated up, right? So that's the downside to putting the carpet. They eat up all your stuff, but at some point their life is done and here you go. So,
But at least you're not spending so much money on herbicides.
yeah, that's true. I mean, it is the green way to go. I mean. All right,
Well,
we
what is
we need to
the-
make a decision on this at this point is,
Is anybody at this point, the other thing we can do, we also have another aquatic weed problem. And that is in the golf course ponds. So do we want to make a decision tonight on the hydrilla treatment or wait and get the C-Pro quote back?
are we contemplating going into golf course ponds and
We'll get to that in just a minute. Do you want to deal with Cherry Hill Pond tonight?
I think so. Because that's only.
Okay.
Are we, I didn't understand which of the chemicals, I mean, I like this, what is it? John Crabb Estate Management Services. He's suggesting, no, he says that there are two options, and I apologize for the bark ground. I like his proposal, but I don't know if that's the best chemical to use. And I don't know if he's proposing it as either or and.
It's definitely the best.
The sonar.
Sonar is, from what I've seen in the past, the preferred choice.
And this time of year is the preferred
Yeah.
time of year. to do
Because
it,
if you
so.
cheap out now and try to save the
So,
money and you gotta go do
right.
it again.
So will the Sonar AS, he'll come in and treat it with that first and then do the grass carp, or
I think it's,
one or the other?
well, you tell me.
Looks like it's one or the other from his proposal, but we could request that he do the herbicide and then come in with the grass carp.
I don't know why you'd want to treat first and then bring grass carp in, because if you're gonna eliminate their food.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah, but
questioning.
it's probably
is-
gonna grow back. That's the problem.
Well,
Right, but it took 3
but if it
years.
doesn't,
You gotta
we,
wait for the kill first.
And or you don't get it all and you don't know. The fish under the water where it's all black, well, we can't see.
Sure.
The fish will see it, right? So.
but I don't want to
appreciate-
put a lot of grass carp in an area that doesn't have food for them.
It kills
Well,
it.
this area does, doesn't it?
If they estimate the water body correctly, because it's parts per billion, so
Yeah.
if they know the volume, it's gonna do its job.
It's not like Roundup where you have to make contact. It's gonna dissolve into the water and that water kind of becomes,
Systemic.
yeah.
Systemic treatment. I'm fine with,
The only thing I'll say is the sonar on Cytex is 450 per acre. When you run the math on state management, 3306 divided by 3.62 acres, they're at 913 an acre. So
how much was the other one?
450 per acre
Yeah.
for sonar.
They must be,
But is the application rate the same?
Well, they have to be. It's gonna be it's whatever the label states.
yeah, but we ran into that the last time when we bought it. They said, if you do this rate, it'll probably get it. And if you do this rate, it'll for sure get it. You remember that.
Well,
And it
is
was-
there a difference between Sonar and Sonar AS? Because Cytex did not specify Sonar AS.
That I'm not 100% sure of.
It sounds to me like we just need a little more clarification, both on the particular chemical for sonar, the application rate, and also whether estate management services suggesting one or the other or both. It sounds like we just need a little more information.
Do you want to set a not to exceed of?
Yeah, but you're running, the clock's ticking. I'm telling you, this time of year,
It all
If you
appears to
come
be
in-
Sonar AS.
when you try to kill this during the spring, when it starts
Short
to
is
bloom,
Sonar, the full name is Sonar AS.
Yes.
Okay, I will entertain a motion if somebody has a particular option that they would like to go with.
You make the motion.
No,
Come on,
I-
you got it all in front of you. You got all the numbers. You're writing it down. And this way,
So I will make a motion
okay, here we go.
to treat the pond, the Cherry Hill pond with, from, this was the one we're going with, right?
This one was cheaper.
Yeah,
But we don't
so-
know if this is what the rate is. They called out 20 parts per billion.
Yeah, maybe Cytex is only putting 10 parts per billion and not 20.
I mean, they have to do it by the label. The problem is they have to know the actual volume. That was my problem when I did it. I didn't know the
Right, you have
depth
to
of it.
measure depth to get
They're gonna
accurate.
come out and do that before they treat.
I mean, this is a lot cheaper, but you know, I'm always leery of why you cheaper.
I think one is using double the volume, double the application rate.
That's my thought too. That's why I'm making that point.
There's no negative to that other than the cost. I mean, it's.
As
and
long
you-
as it's the label.
and
As
you
long
dump
as they're
it, right.
following the
Can they
label.
guarantee a kill?
Well, sonar.
None of them will
I mean,
guarantee a
it's-
kill.
No. Heavy rain washes it all away. Make the motion for not to exceed of whatever it is.
Okay, so, this cost would be.
They're quoting per acre. Is that correct, Brett?
Yes, sir.
Is that what they're doing? Yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to treat the hydrilla, Cherry Lake Pond.
Cherry Hill.
Statement.
You said Cherry Lake, Cherry Hill.
Cherry Hill Pond, through the, what is this company?
Estate management.
Estate management, not to exceed 330650,
And that's for the sonar AS.
and that's for using the sonar AS.
Okay.
And what about the grass carp? Are we just forgetting about them entirely? Are we going to ask him to stock them at a certain period afterwards?
All right. We'll come back to that in a second, Carol. I'll second Mike's motion.
Okay, I have a motion and second to go with the state management services sonar AS application. Not to exceed price of $3,306.50.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
All opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously.
Moving quickly to go back to the grass carp, I'd ask our field, what do we call you today? Oh, well, that's Brett. To explore further that carp thing and what are the requirements? And you may have to get together with David to find out the drainage system for that pond, inlets and outlets. And if you could bring it back next month for what it costs us to stock that pond with carp.
I mean, we need, if we're doing this, yeah, but it's gonna take some time because we have to,
Yeah.
they have to eat something.
Right, exactly right.
Right.
So,
So, okay, so you're gonna bring something back about the grass carp.
Yes.
The thing about the golf cart course ponds, I've been noticing that the cattail growth in the golf course ponds, particularly those on Five Oaks across from the houses there, are just phenomenal growth, which means they're consuming capacity in our ponds and are a problem. And we are obligated, and we do have the appropriate easement to maintain those ponds. So Brett reached out to the golf course manager. You want to explain what?
Yeah, I went in to see the golf course, not superintendent, GM. And he reached out to his boss via phone and said that they have no obligation to treat those ponds.
Nor have they ever,
Nor have they treated those ponds, is what he told me.
yeah. Evidently, they're just mowing around them. You know, they've taken,
the CDD's only obligation is ingress and egress.
Right.
That is it.
Gotta get water in,
In
water
and
out.
out.
no, that's not the case. We have a formal easement over those ponds that
We
were.
have an easement to get to it.
We have a formal obligation to the water management district to maintain the storage capacity of those ponds and to prevent the overgrowth of cattails.
Mr. Engineer, there seems to be a capacity question here with cattail growth in the ponds. I mean, to me, the overall capacity is affected only in a minor way by however much vegetation grows in there.
Well, it's also, it's capacity, but it's also reducing the water quality benefit of the pond. It's taken over the depth in the area where the settlement needs to take place. And so if left unattended, we'll also start degrading the water quality of the pond and what's leaving the pond. So I agree that, we want to make sure the water can flow in easily and flow out easily, not be impeded. But if left uncontrolled, it will literally take over the pond. Then you're going to lose quality, quantity, and then you may inherit.
And
some
have
other
to
issues.
dig it all out and
Yeah,
reconstruct
they
it.
usually chop it off. And that's the worst thing to do. And then
That's
it
a
gets to
mess.
the bottom, and you get all that muck, and it's a,
Mhm.
and they got machinery that can go in there and pull it on the boats and take it out of there properly, but it's not cheap. So
No, and it's
But
just getting worse and
the flip
worse.
side of that is all that stuff is growing because it's consuming nitrogen and phosphorus and all that, which is rolling off the grass from the golf course for the most part.
and
So,
like the grass carp, eventually it'll get chapped out and.
yeah. So there's a plus and a minus to having that growth in the pond. How do you control it and prevent the overtaking, which I agree, it's probably gonna
The
happen.
bigger question is whether or not you have the ability to talk to the golf course about their management techniques. Brett probably knows better than anybody. Are they over fertilizing? Are they over irrigating? So that stuff washes right into the pond as soon as they apply it.
It's a golf course.
Yeah, I mean, my position would be, it's not up to the CDD to take full responsibility of the golf course ponds and just.
We are under obligation with the Water Management District. They are our storage capacity for our development, and it just like taking over any neighborhood pond. It's our duty. That's what the CDD is here for.
I'll be out next week to look at dark
So-
sky. I can see how bad it is and give you all a report if it needs to be done now.
I mean,
versus-
there's like 18 ponds on the golf course, not that many.
Not all of them are growing.
Not all of them are overgrown with cattails. That I've noticed, there are about 3 or 4 major ones that are
That
having.
we can see.
And then there are other ponds that if we get in there and hit the cattails now and beat them back, then we won't have the big problem. I think we were under the assumption that the golf course, what my assumption was and understanding was that the golf course had basically booted us out and was taking sole responsibility for their ponds. My understanding now that no, that wasn't the case. They were taking responsibility for mowing the edges of their ponds, but not the growth within the pond itself. So we need to do that. So if you will go look
I
at
guess we can put
those
18 holes and check all the ponds.
and then come
Yeah.
back to us with
If you have an easement, get on a 4x4 and you can go anywhere you want.
the
We'll
the
get a golf cart and
GM.
look at 'em real quick.
I guess is very cooperative.
Yeah, he
and-
he wasn't by any means a jerk about it. He just said, let me check, but he goes, I don't recall. And he called and said, yeah, that's what I thought. We don't maintain those in terms of treatments. So.
Okay,
You'd think they'd want them to look pretty, but
yeah. Again. As far as landscape RFP scope review,
Thank you.
it's going to take some time to really go over this next month. The last item on the agenda is the swim club pool pump. Julie, are you still here? Come on up. The testing of the pool water, thank you so much. Mike Scarborough took care of that. It came back with negative for iron. So we are at this particular moment in good shape with that. Where did she go? Yeah, I need you to, yeah. I need you to come up here and speak into the microphone, please. Julie investigated more of the type of pump we have, the impeller, and
So
take it
yes, I
away.
reached out to Andrew with Speed's Pools and basically the question was, what is his best guesstimate about the possibility of that pump causing rust stains on the new surface? His response was, he can't tell us specifically without taking that pump apart, which would compromise the integrity of the pump anyhow. So that's not recommended. But what he did say was it will, if it hasn't already, it will rust and it will stain the inside of your pool. And he sent me a picture of one that they just had taken out of another one and showed what it looks like. It's all rusted, falling apart.
Sure.
So this is exactly what you have now. It's all metal. And what they're proposing is one that has, what they're proposing is one that has all plastic parts, so there won't be any rusting and staining on the new surface. So it's the board's decision to decide if you want to go ahead now and replace that pump with one that has plastic parts so that there won't be any staining, or you could keep what you currently have and just kind of like throw the dice and see if it's going to hold out for another year or two before it starts rusting and staining.
Our water guy is over here. I'm no water expert, you are, but I played around with water in pools. And I believe the only reason you get rust in the water, rust in the water is from iron particles, manganese in particular, right? You tested it carefully. We do have iron and manganese in other pools. So your test is probably pretty accurate, but in the swim club pool, you had 0. I'm not going to argue that there's an impeller in there that's probably made out of metal, but from testing, we can't say that we had rust. And we could implement in the pool testing procedure, it's easy enough. They're testing pool water daily, something like that. We could get the iron test strips for cheap amount of money and make that part of the water test all the time and test it for iron. And when the iron popped up, if it pops up, now you stop work right there and say, now we're gonna fix this. That's just
The
my
amount of,
opinion.
the staining that I see at the swim club, the amount of iron that would have to be dissolved in that water, it would have to just be tremendous, maybe a couple hundred parts per million.
Yeah, you'd have
Yeah,
to,
well,
You're not gonna get that. kind
right.
of-
The issue isn't
That
what
wasn't the issue.
the
that
staining that was,
in the
the
past.
question
we're
is
talking about the future.
being
Yes,
proactive to prevent any.
right.
Oh,
They
but
can't-
this came about because we noticed.
Right.
Yes.
Discoloration.
Yes.
Discoloration,
That's
So
which,
they-
which my
But
opinion is.
you worked that out for us.
It
Yes.
comes-
The testing.
Yeah, I think that's from acid, that discoloration.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
my
Okay.
opinion.
So
The only thing the Spies would say was they can't guarantee that it's rusting now. The only way they can check is if they open it up, and
Yeah.
nobody wants them to open that pump up.
No.
So they're just letting you know.
the cautioning.
They're cautioning you that
Right.
if it does stain, if it does start to rust in, say, a year, it could stain that surface, and that won't be something that they'll be covering. I'm just letting you know that
Okay,
they're
sure.
not saying you have to do this, okay?
Right.
They're
Yeah,
just
no, I
saying
get it, I get it.
it's either or is what they're saying.
I get it. But are we, what's the life on the current pump that we have?
It's not that old because it got replaced
Last,
after the flood,
oh, that's right.
which was, you were working there, weren't you? 4 years ago?
Yeah,
3-4 years ago, I think it was 17.
September 2017.
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's not all that old.
How,
It all depends on how,
water.
yeah, the
quality.
water quality,
We got
the
some new
maintenance
water.
of them, how often they're serviced. It's like, I've had commercial pool pumps last for 10 years, and I've had them last for 3. Sometimes the bearings go bad. It all depends
Well,
on.
that one was 17 years old when it flooded. It was the original. So I get the problem, but you're gonna notice rust coming in the water really quickly. You're gonna see the orange
So we're
spot.
gonna be proactive. We're gonna provide test strips to add an iron test
Sure.
to our regimen.
Well, let's look at it a different way. That handheld tester that you have, which
You
one
want
of
one of
those
those?
cost? How much does that cost?
Oh, you don't want to know the cost, but I can probably get you one. I can probably donate one to the CDD.
We like
And
donations.
that solves the whole problem, right? That's easier than the test strips.
Then we'll be able to keep track of
It's
that.
very accurate.
Right. And Vincent is taking the CPO class,
Sure.
and he'll be taking the test.
And then we can
too.
monitor, and we'll monitor all of our water all the time, because if the others start to rise up,
Uh-huh.
we'll know right away, and we can say, hey, wait a minute, we got a problem here, right? We know with the parts per million we have right now, they're not showing any damage.
Okay.
But as those PPMs start to go up, and we'll be able to monitor it once a week, once a month,
Okay.
boom,
We also have a second employee taking the CPO test.
Okay.
that's good.
So we've got a plan in place. My computer just shut down. So it's 8:20 right now. We still have, huh? Oh, I don't think so.
I think we call for adjournment, nothing else here.
I
overall.
think I'm getting brain dead.
Yeah.
The one thing I do want to say really quickly, and it will be on the next, next month's agenda. There is an issue with the, property. Evidently, we own more property than we realize.
More?
Yes. You know that piece of property,
Surveyed over and over. We keep coming up.
we have a piece of property that we talked about 2 meetings ago that we got an easement over, but that one that goes straight up through the apartment complex, we actually own that.
Where our pipe is?
Where that pipe is, we own that property. We own it cutting it over. We own it up, and we own all of that fence along 192, including the fence line on the other side of 190 of our entrance,
The east entrance,
the east entrance,
the fence line?
the fence line. From just behind the fence, all, including the fence, all the way up to the right of way.
Which is.
Wait a minute, when you say up to,
25 feet
you
off-
mean
25 foot off this.
heading towards 192? That right away? Yeah.
See?
Didn't we have this well investigated?
All this.
Yeah, I
all
mean,
this and all that. We own that. The Harmony Cove developers' interests are asking if we will find a way to provide them with that strip up the middle. The original offer from the Harmony retail folks was they'll trade us the stormwater pond for it.
they'll do what?
Trade us the stormwater pond that we have an easement over. I wasn't too excited about owning another stormwater pond.
That's just additional cost.
So again, we will be investigating that much further. I wanted to bring it to your attention, make you aware of it.
This seems like a pretty good bargaining chip.
And well, so anyway, that is in the works. So put it in your head, think about it, and we'll bring it back next month with full details.
That east entrance piece is pretty interesting too. I
Okay,
move to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a second.
Aye. Done, thank you.
Aye. Thanks, everybody, for bearing with me with the audio. Brett, wonderful job. Thank you for setting everything up.
Madam
Thank you
Chairwoman,
so
try to be a
much.
little more difficult next month, so I don't agree with you so much.
I'll work on it.
I'm getting a little
I-
concerned that we agreed 2 or 3 times tonight.
We'll work on
That
that.
could be
She
problematic.
can solve that, don't worry.
More than that.
Holiday season.
Thank you, everyone.
I thought it was 11.